in Lincoln, Nebraska, Big Red is ready. The ticket to have gets you into Memorial Stadium, where the Cornhuskers have waited longer than normal for their first win. Tonight, after a day to dream, now it's time to get it on. As usual, another sellout. And why not? Tonight, under the lights, it's the first meeting between the South Alabama Jaguars and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Ten Network Football here in Lincoln. Alongside my partner, Glenn Mason, I am Eric Collins. Glad to have you along for the ride. And, well, for the first time in 29 years, the Nebraska Cornhuskers did not win their season opener. And, oh, yeah, they lost in heartbreaking fashion. They lost against BYU on a Hail Mary. The question tonight, how do you respond from that, Coach?
Man, only time will tell. And what a way to lose a game. You think about playing an entire football game, and you played pretty well. There's 1 second left on the clock. You know what they're going to do. They're going to throw the Hail Mary. You've worked on it. You've practiced it. You're in pretty good position. You don't make the play, and it's a touchdown. Normally, coaches get over losses like that a lot slower than players. All indications by how the players have practiced this week, they're ready to go.
And Mike Riley said it was a fantastic week of practice. He also said that the loss wasted a great performance by his quarterback, Tommy Armstrong Jr. He was really all of the offense, though, for Nebraska.
You know, it's really amazing how Tommy Armstrong has adapted to this Mike Riley offense. 311 yards passing. He's not the problem. He graded out well. It's 126 yards rushing. Only 126 yards. That's not Nebraska football. Mike Riley says we got to get the running game going to our I-backs. This is probably the only place in the country they don't call them running backs. They still call them I-backs, even though they don't line up the I formation.
A lot of things to watch tonight here at Memorial Stadium. But before we kick things off, moments ago, the pride of all Nebraska marching band. Special here in Lincoln when we come back. South Alabama and the Huskers. Yet another sellout, number 342 in a row here at Memorial Stadium, and you can't ask for better football weather in September. 68 degrees. There is a bit of a breeze, 8 miles per hour out of the south, but for the most part, it is clear sailing. Today's keys to the game. Glenn Mason, what are you thinking about for South Alabama?
Well, first of all, for South Alabama, do what you do. Run the football. You've got 4 good running backs. You got big play potential. Go ahead and get those guys blocking up front, and let them. On defense, force Nebraska to throw the ball. Nebraska's going to be committed to developing the run, establishing the run tonight. Take it away, make them throw it.
Now for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, what are your thoughts on their keys?
Well, I broken record. The run, only 126 yards on the ground. That's what Mike Riley talked about. They worked hard. They want to get the I-backs the ball. They want to get the running going. And on defense, you know, they played pretty well. They tackled extremely well. They had some breakdowns. They have to be technically sound.
All right, we're ready for some football. We do have some breaking news to tell you about when we come back. Rick Pizzo will fill you in on something new happening with Nebraska. This is what it's all about. One of the greatest entrances in all of college football. here at Memorial Stadium in front of a packed house. The angry Nebraska Cornhuskers trying to pick up their first win of 2015, and here come the Huskers. For the first time since 1985, Nebraska heads into game 2 without a win.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that the Cornhusker faithful would wish that streak would go on forever, and it ended, and we already talked about it in a royal fashion.
Well, Nebraska, after losing against Brigham Young, still dealing with injury fallout. Injuries not just happening against BYU, but also happening in practice. That'll be a big story that we talk about throughout the course of today's 60-minute game. Mike Riley, first year on the job, trying to figure out how to keep guys healthy.
Mike and I, yesterday in our meeting, were talking about, I can't remember in recent history when there was more injuries early in the season, not just in Nebraska, but across the board.
Well, with more on the injury front, let's head down to Mike Riley, standing by with our own Rick Pizzo.
Thank you very much, Eric. Mike, we just learned a few minutes ago that neither Josh Banderas, neither Dedrick Young going to be able to play tonight. How much of a concern is that for you at linebacker against a team that likes to go up tempo?
Well, we haven't been very deep since we started, but we've got some guys that are ready to go, and it's always that deal right now where it's the next man up. You're on the team for a reason. Go in and do your job.
Guys look ready. How has the response been this week after such a tough way to start?
I've liked it. I thought we had good practices. I think the guys, they were mad about losing, but took it out in a good way. They worked hard.
Mike, we appreciate the time. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Eric, back to you guys in the booth.
Rick, thank you so much. So interesting news. A couple of linebackers will not play for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Well, Nebraska has won the toss. South Alabama is going to receive the football. Let's take a look at our Auto Owners Insurance Impact players when South Alabama has the football.
Well, you got to start with quarterback Cody Clemens, the transfer for UAB. 2 touchdown passes over 50 yards. Xavier Johnson, the running back. Disciplinary reasons he will not start tonight, but he'll play. He had a 92-yarder. And on defense, the safety, Nate Gary, had an interception last week, 6 on the career.
Well, on the other side of the ball, when Nebraska has possession, your Auto Owners Insurance Impact players.
If I would have played like Tommy did, I'd be smiling too. 311 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver, Jordan Westerkamp, 7 receptions, the go-to guy. And on defense for South Alabama, the transfer from Texas Tech, Blake Dees, 13 tackles. Really a good player.
South Alabama coming off their season opener a week ago, a win against Gardner-Webb. Obviously stepping up in terms of class of competition here against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. There's Joey Jones. Joey Jones, the only coach that South Alabama has ever known. This is just their 8th year of football. They play out of the Sun Belt Conference. Last year, they made it to a bowl game for the first time in school history. Ball is put on the ground, went through the wickets. Claude Garrett had it, then lost it. Finally a touchback. And we will have the Jaguars starting on offense. And Cody Clemens is a guy who's been all across the country in pursuit of excellence in the college football field. Started at Washington State, transferred to a junior college in California. Last year, he played at UAB. They get rid of football, and so he transfers to South Alabama.
Let's be honest, they got a few guys like that have a history of moving around quite a bit, but he's got a lot of experience. They like the matchups on the outside. The key is that can the guys up front give him time to throw the ball and for those running backs to get rushing yardage.
Tyrese Thomas starts as the tailback. Clemens wants to throw. His pass is incomplete. Good start defensively. Byerson Cockrell had good coverage and was able to lay a lick on the receiver.
Well, you can see Clemens, he fakes to the outside, then he has the slant on the inside. He's trying to get the speed of that Nebraska defense to go lateral and hit the pass behind him.
Nebraska's defense, for the most part, was very good a week ago in the second half against BYU. There is the game's first completion. Josh McGee with the catch. Josh McGee, one of 6 transfers from UAB. UAB dropping their football program temporarily. And for the most part, all of the really good offensive players headed to South Alabama.
I'll tell you, if UAB hadn't dropped football, these guys didn't transfer, I don't know where South Alabama would be.
Not only 6 offensive players jumping ship, but also the offensive coordinator, Bryant Vincent, coming over from UAB. Greg McMullen on the tackle. Short gain by Tyrese Thomas. South Alabama started playing football in 2009. These are the guys we're talking about. These are the transfers last year playing at UAB. These are just the offensive names. There are also names on defense as well. Deep pass from Clements into coverage. It's picked off. Gary's got it again. His second interception on the season. Multiple flags come down on the return, but it's going to be Nebraska football. Second pick of the season for Gary. 7th career interception. And a good start for the Cornhuskers. Now, it would be a 37-yard return, but we'll have to sort out the penalty. Todd Gearlings, today's referee.
After the interception, penalty on the defense. Illegal low block below the waist. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Results in an automatic first down.
Yeah, instead of great starting field position, not so great starting field position, but Nebraska does have the ball.
Yeah, just an underthrown ball by Clements because the offensive line did a good job. You saw him, he kind of threw off his back foot when he didn't have to. You can't throw a deep ball short. You got to throw it long, if anything.
So, Tommy Armstrong will lead the offense. They start at the 25-yard line. Terrell Newby is the back behind him. Fullback Andy Janovich in motion, and they fake it to Newby. Tons of time for Armstrong. Throws on the run, his pass incomplete. He was looking for the true freshman, Stanley Morgan Jr.
How many times do you see, you look right here, but they don't want to throw the ball 41 times. Mike probably made it quite clear. That's what they had to do last week because they couldn't get the running game going. 24 for 41, 319 yards, pretty good. Now you add another 200 yards rushing, you're in the ball game.
Now both coaching staffs telling us they wanted to establish the ground game, yet they both start their first possession with passes. Newby still the eye back, and now they give it to Newby. Breaks through that first wall, and Newby out close to the first down marker. Jeremy Reeves on the tackle, but good movement on that young offensive line for the Cornhuskers.
Well, you know the thing about it, you know you're committed to the run when you line up, and the defense has no one on your inside receiver, which means they have an extra guy in the box, and you're still going to run the ball. Mike Riley's told those guys, we're going to run it, baby. Enough of that 41 yards passing, 41 passing attempts.
Cornhuskers looking a lot like Oregon State in years past, but a lot like Nebraska in years past. They want to make sure they understand how to run the football. That's what Nebraska football's been based on. Newby, second straight carry. Again, a first down run. Game tackle finally brought down, but a pickup of 12.
Yeah, you know, he's wide open. He had a little penetration, but it was inside penetration, and yeah, that's a big hole. You see 65 just sort away the outside. When it goes all the way to the safety, you know the guys up front have done a good job.
Last week, just 43 yards for Newby. Did score a touchdown. Split time with Mikhail Wilbon and Amani Cross. They fake the sweep, and instead they give it to Newby, his third consecutive carry. Tackled by Reeves at midfield.
When you're running the ball like this and you're committed to run it, and the safeties are coming down and making the play like we've seen, sooner or later you're going to throw the ball, you're going to get a big play.
Armstrong wants to throw. Here's a completion out in space. This is Hovey, Lane Hovey, out to the 40-yard line. That'll be another Nebraska first down.
Watching last week's film against BYU, these are the plays that really impressed me by Armstrong. He threw the ball outside with a lot of zip, right on the money, where the receiver could catch it and do something with it.
A couple of tight ends in the game right now. Trey Foster, we didn't know whether or not he'd be able to play, but he checks in. He wears number 42. He's dealing with a bit of an ankle injury. This is Newby, this time stuffed at the line, able to break the first tackle, but then goes down for a loss. A loss of one. Jeremy Reeves comes from his star position to make the tackle, and Reeves is a little bit banged up.
Yeah, Reeves plays that star position. That's what they call him there. That's what most people would call the Sam linebacker. He has to have the ability to play on a tight end, but also the athleticism to go out and play on an inside receiver in a spread set.
Yeah, they run a 4-2-5 defense, and they've got positions called star, jack, and money.
I'd want to be the money guy, which would be the will linebacker.
So Reeves leaves under his own power. 2nd down and 11. Newby's been featured here on this drive. It'll bring a 3rd down and long.
When you have a guy like Armstrong in there and they're running the zone read, it's just a matter of time that he makes the read on that backside defensive end and pulls it and comes out the back end.
First time that there hasn't been a tight end in the game for Nebraska. 4 receivers in the game. Newby stays in at the I-back. Armstrong again, tons of time, throws a bullet. It's a strike. Hovey's got it again, and Hovey inside the 15. Tommy Armstrong has really progressed as a passer.
Oh, when you have 5 receivers in the game like that in a spread offense, and you give a quarterback this amount of time to sit back and just read across the middle, sooner or later someone's going to come open. Look at that right here. Good job just bull rushing. Left guard got a little bit, but gave him enough time to get the ball away.
The coaching staff really thinks that this line that they inherited really fits what they want. They want athletic linemen, not necessarily huge maulers, but athletic guys who can run a bit. This may be a pass. I think it's going to be Jamal Turner. Incomplete, looking for Hovey in the back of the end zone. So how about that? A little trick play inside the red zone.
Well, you know, when I asked Danny Langsdorff, the offensive coordinator, do you have any trick plays? He goes, oh, yeah, I got a bunch of them. And I said, you wouldn't want to share them with me, would you? And he said, no, I don't think so. He said, but if you see the ball being zinged around a little bit, I guess that's what he calls zinging. Something's going to happen.
You like trick plays inside the red zone?
I love them. I love them any place.
Tommy Armstrong Jr. now over 4,000 career passing yards. Next touchdown pass he throws will break a tie with the legendary Turner Gill. This will be a ground touchdown. Terrell Newby, his 2nd touchdown of the season. A 6-0 lead for Nebraska. And I guess that answers the question, how are they going to respond from a devastating loss a week ago?
Well, like I told you, players come back quicker, and they're sick about that loss. But overall, against a good BYU team, they played pretty darn well. And it's not always the play that beats you, it's the plays that lead up to the getting beat.
Drew Brown, sophomore. Extra point sails through. It's a 7-0 lead. Every yard gained on that drive by either Terrell Newby or Lane Hovey. 7-0 Huskers. Now, a nice start for the locals here at Memorial Stadium. A 7-0 lead. Nebraska on top of South Alabama. How about this? It's the 7th consecutive home game they've started with a touchdown.
Hey, I love offensive blocking right here. Watch Sam Cotton, the tight end. He's going to come over here and block. He's going to make it awful easy for Newby. That is a well-executed play, baby.
2nd kickoff. This one sails out of the back of the end zone. Let's head down onto the field and check in with Rick Pizzo.
Well, Eric, the offensive line had not even had a chance to sit down and rest before Mike Riley ran right over to slap every guy on the shoulder, tell them that's exactly what they need to do for 60 minutes. He said, you are physically dominant. It needs to stay that way throughout the entire game.
Mike Riley, as advertised, just a wonderful guy to hang out with and be around.
You know, it'll only take you a couple minutes to sit down and talk to him and say, that's the type of guy I'd like my boy to play for, because he emphasizes all the right things.
Now, something we will talk about this evening. Both coaches, Joey Jones and Mike Riley, were coached by the great Paul Bear Bryant. Catch is made by Kevin Kuchera, but there's a flag down on the field.
Personal foul, chop block, 74 and 66. 15, half the distance to the goal. Repeat, first down.
And that was the left guard Stephen Foster in the center, Joseph Selfo.
Well, you see it right there. You know, you can't block a guy high and low right there in the middle. It's a dangerous block, and officials always looking for that one.
Center, Joseph Selfo, the son of Chris Selfo, former head coach at Tulane. Chris Selfo is in the stadium today. In the flat, that is dropped. Was it a lateral? That is going to be a touchdown for Nebraska. Michael Rose-Ivy scores. First game he's played in 2 seasons. It was a backwards pass that results in a defensive touchdown.
Well, the officials are huddling to make sure. Rules a touchdown on the field.
That was right along that 5-yard line. It depends on whether or not you thought that was a forward pass or not. But the ruling on the field was it was a backwards pass.
With a touchdown. The previous play is under further review.
Yeah, so we'll look at this one a little longer. Our replay official is James Kemmerling. Not too many better than him. He's going to look at all the angles and determine whether or not this pass was indeed a backwards pass, because that's what it was ruled on the field. You need indisputable video evidence to overturn it.
Eric, the way they huddled on the field immediately, I'm talking about the officials, they weren't really sure. I know if I'm Joey Jones, I'm saying there's no question that ball's going forward. Now if I'm Mike Riley, I'm saying it went backwards. I think it went forward.
Well, even if it was picked up by Rose-Ivy, he was still tumbling on the ground. So it's not the touchdown that was ruled on the field. It was fairly clear that when he picked up the football, he was on the 2-yard line or so. Obviously a big day for Rose-Ivy, who missed all of last year and then was suspended for the first game of 2015.
You don't think he's not raring to go?
And what you need to keep an eye on, the throw from Cody Clements. Where was the ball when he released it?
Let's go back. You can see where he is, and he's here. And to me, the ball's in touching that area right there with his right hand. Yeah.
After further review, it was a forward pass that was incomplete. The ball will be second down at the 12.5-yard line in the left middle. 12:48 or 9:48 on the clock.
I agree with that call. So the play is reversed, and that's a big sigh of relief for Joey Jones and his staff.
Absolutely. That's why coaches advocated for the replay a long time ago. In the Big Ten Conference, we did it on an experimental basis, and then it was adopted nationally because coaches just wanted to get right. And you can see where it was that close where an official on the field could make a mistake. Anybody could make a mistake.
Well, it's still no picnic right now for Cody Clements in South Alabama. Second down at 22 against a stout Nebraska defense. Little dump down to the back, coming out of the backfield. Thomas is pushed out of bounds at the 15-yard line. Well, if you are looking for the Florida International Indiana game, go to btn.com/gamefinder right now to see where you can find the game in your area.
Eric, you talked about the injuries to the linebackers, and they were short linebackers to begin with when Mike Riley and his staff got here. They only had 4 linebackers on scholarship. Like they were thinking, is this really Nebraska? There's only 4 linebackers?
Josh Banderas, Cedric Young, both will not play today. Clements' pass to no one in particular. Good coverage by Jonathan Rose, playing in his first game of 2015. And it'll be a 3-and-out. South Alabama fortunate to have a 3-and-out, considering they thought that they had lost the football for a moment before a call was reversed.
Yeah, you know, when you have third and long like that, a lot of times the coaching philosophy, hey, let's throw the ball, but let's throw it deep. If it's intercepted down there, it's as good as a punt, so don't worry about it. And I think that's exactly what they tried to do right there. Just took a shot downtown for just in case they get lucky.
Brandon McKee is the punter, one of two punters we will probably see for South Alabama. He'll kick it to Jordan Westerkamp. McKee in no hurry and didn't get off a good punt. It won't be returnable, but it'll be great starting field position for Nebraska. Just 26 yards on that punt by McKee. And we'll keep it right here. And we mentioned the story. Both Mike Riley and Joey Jones, the two head coaches, are products of the University of Alabama. Joey Jones is a receiver back in the early 80s, played 3 years for Bear Bryant. Mike Riley played his entire college career for Bear Bryant, won a national championship in 1973.
I thought it was great. Mike was talking about how he kind of begged his way into Alabama. He sent letters, he sent film, he did whatever. And, you know, he didn't hesitate. He said, you know, I was not a really good player. He said, but I was on the team. It was a great experience. And Bear Bryant taught me two things, poise and confidence, and he always made me feel important.
It was almost verbatim when we talked to Joey Jones about the important things that Bear Bryant told him and impressed upon him during his time. Poise, preparation, confidence. Terrell Newby on that rush, not much doing, only a gain of 1 yard. That first drive for Nebraska, every single yard gained was picked up by either Newby or the receiver Lane Hovey. Three receivers and a tight end along with the I-back Newby. Armstrong gets it out, and that pass is complete. Again, it's Lane Hovey.
Eric, you got to be impressed, like I was watching the film of last week's game against BYU with Tarmy Armstrong, how fast the release is and the spin he's got on that ball and how quick he gets it in there. Right on the money.
Yeah, we were really impressed at practice with the power of his arm. Another chance for Newby, right up the gut. And Newby breaks that front wall inside the 20 before being tackled at the 18. Another 11-yard carry for Newby.
When you can run the football right up the gut like that, you have problems defensively. Got to credit the center and the two guards. They're communicating well. They're hitting the landmarks. They're driving their legs and putting Newby to that second level before he's touched.
We just saw Danny Langsdorff, offensive coordinator, known for screen passes, speed sweeps, that kind of stuff. Well, right now, this is just power football. Out in space, it's complete to Morgan. And he's down at the 12-yard line. True freshman receiver out of New Orleans picks up 7 yards.
A lot of these spread offenses, they come out with a play, and you can see they're run blocking up front, and they give the quarterback the option. If he thinks he can get it out to the receiver with room, you just throw it out there because the rest of the line was run blocking.
Huge emphasis. Wide receiver coach Kevin Williams, you have to make the first man miss. Run hard with the football when you're out in space. 2nd down and 3. Newby. That'll be close to the first down marker. Demarion Harper with the tackle.
That's the same play with Sam Cotton pulling around and being the kick-out blocker that Newby scored on before. Love that play. It's gap block, and it's like an off-tackle power. Everybody blocks down. Someone from the backside pulls around. Either goes the linebacker or kicks out.
So it's 1st down and goal. All 55 rushing yards for Nebraska accumulated by Newby. Armstrong gets it out. Newby, one-handed catch to the pylon, and he scores. A little bit of both for Terrell Newby. A rushing touchdown and now a receiving score.
The beauty of that play. Newby had the easy job. Tommy Armstrong threw the ball right in front of him so that he was gaining ground as he caught it. He didn't lose any speed. If anything, he had to pick up a little bit of speed to catch it. Well executed play.
35th career touchdown pass for Tommy Armstrong. That moves him into 6th place all-time at Nebraska, all by himself. Had been tied with Turner Gill. Great name from the past. Newby, a couple of scores. The lead is 14-0 for Nebraska. Both times Nebraska's touched the football, they scored touchdowns. 6:05 remaining here in the first quarter with Glenn Mason, Rick Pizzo. I'm Eric Collins. Third time we've seen a kickoff from Nebraska. This will be returnable. Claude Garrett, full head of steam. And Garrett spins out across the 25.
You know, if you're Joey Jones right now, you're thinking, man, I got to get at least a first down. I've only got one first down on the night. I can't be 3 and out and stick my defense out against that Nebraska offense again. I got to get him a little rest.
We talked about it before, but there's changes defensively for Nebraska. Josh Banderas, veteran Mike linebacker, he's not playing. So we've seen a combination of Chris Webber. We've seen Marcus Newby. And now it appears as Luke Gifford is getting an opportunity at one of the linebacker spots. And it is incomplete, trying to get it to Demi Ayula. South Alabama can score in a hurry. These are the big plays that they had a week ago against Gardner-Webb.
Yeah, well, the thing about it, if you live by the big play, you die by the big play too. You know, you need some consistency. That little swing pass right there, that's their version of an outside run. And you need the consistency of the execution like you do a sweep.
Clements, this pass is complete. Marvin Shin with the catch. Shin, a senior from Mobile. He's a transfer from Alabama. He's actually part of 2 national championship teams. Playing for Nick Saban. Caught 2 passes in the national championship game in 2012 against Notre Dame. Finishing up his college experience at South Alabama. Another completion, this on 3rd down, and stretching for the first down is Gerald Everett. And it's going to depend on the spot. And they're going to give him the first down.
You think it might have been a generous spot, but they gave it to him.
There's Josh Banderas, number 52, and the true freshman Dedrick Young wearing number 5. So there's a lot of knowledge that Josh Banderas can impart to Dedrick Young, even when they're not playing.
Well, they're trying everything. Swing passes, slant passes, deep passes. You saw the option there.
It's a shoe off for Michael Rose-Ivy. We hope it's just a uniform situation, but he's going to have to go to the sideline.
He played in the middle, the short of linebackers. He gets nicked right there a little bit. Yeah. I think he's okay.
All that tape those guys have on their ankles and their shoes. Always surprised when a shoe comes off. So linebackers in the game. Luke Gifford, Chris Webber. 4-man rush, and another slant is complete. Close to the first down marker, Claude Garrett. His first grab, senior out of Calumet City, Illinois.
You know, you hit a couple of those slants, Eric, and then you know the corner's going to be playing you tighter. So then you go a slant and go. Some people call it a sluggo because the corner's going to try to jump it. You fake it, go deep. Watch for them to come back for that.
Rose-Ivy getting his right shoe retaped. Marcus Newby, number 3, comes in at one of the linebacking spots. First down and 10. Most impressive drive for South Alabama. Oh, up for grabs. Ball falls to the ground between 4 Nebraska defenders.
Yeah, we used to call those volleyball interceptions. The ball tipped, it goes up there, typically because the defenders are all looking forward, they see the ball better than the offensive guys, and if it can be picked up, they'll get it. You can see 3 guys had a long shot at getting it, but they had a shot. They all had red shirts on.
And it goes a pass defended by Byerson Cockrell. Blitz is on, ball goes down, and Clements able to fall on top of it. That'd be a loss and bring up a 3rd down and long.
Well, you know, I don't care what kind of offense you run or what kind of formation. If you're the T under center in the shotgun, that drives you crazy. You have to do that perfectly 100% of the time to have a chance. The center quarterback exchange.
3rd down and a bunch. Clements has a man wide open. And this will be a 1st down and then some. Terrence Timmons snuck out of the backfield. And that'll beat the blitz. That'll be a 14-yard gain. And a 1st down and 10 for South Alabama.
Well, you know what happens is all of a sudden, if you come with the blitz right there, man coverage, someone's got to be on him. And you can see it was the free safety that had him, and he got sucked over to the left. The ball went back to the right.
This time Timmons trying to get to the edge, and he won't get there. Joshua Kalu with the tackle. Kalu coming from his defensive back spot to lead Nebraska in tackles a week ago. Kalu had 9 tackles last week against BYU.
Regardless what happens on this series, as I mentioned when they started, this will be a success because they've got some 1st downs. Their defense, South Alabama's defense on the sideline, getting some rest.
That's a dart complete, another 1st down. Marvin Shin, 2nd catch for him on this drive. Pickup of 11.
Eric, I'll tell you, to this point, I'm impressed with the job that the South Alabama offensive line is doing, because I've been watching the defensive line from Nebraska. I'm going to tell you, they got their rear ends up in the air and their ears pinned back, and they're coming hard. Those guys are doing a good job.
3rd drive for South Alabama, by far their most impressive. Catch is made and pushed out of bounds after a nominal gain, a pickup of just about 1 yard. Chris Lewis in the mix. That's the first time we've seen Lewis on the field.
I'm amazed at the condition these athletes have to be in nowadays with all the no-huddle offenses. This is not a hurry up, but it's no huddle. Those defensive guys make a play, they got to jump up and sprint back because they don't know the tempo.
Another blitz. It's picked up, and that is dropped. Tyrese Thomas wasn't going to go very far. Chris Webber was bearing down on him. It'll bring up 3rd down and long.
The one play that South Alabama has not executed very well is that back swinging out of the backfield like you just saw right there. The ball's not been on the money. They haven't handled it. Negative yard plays.
South Alabama on the outskirts of field goal range. Blitz again. And the catch is made. That's short of the 1st down marker. Chris Lewis, his 2nd catch, and now a decision on 4th down. What are you thinking about, Coach Mason?
I'm going to go for it. Playing on the road against Nebraska, I don't think 3 points are going to help me in the long run. I'm going to go for it. You never get back to Lincoln again in my life. I'm going to go for a touchdown. I'll tell you, that last play, you got to credit the offense of South Alabama. Nebraska came with the blitz. The line did a good job. The back stepped up, took the linebacker on. Quarterback put the ball in the money. Well-executed play.
4th down and 4. Oh, it's a reverse, and it fools no one. Down goes Garrett. Freedom Akinmoladun blew it up. Well, the youngster, just a freshman learning how to play defensive end. He stayed at home, Coach.
Well, that's what you got to do. You know, this thing is contained. Front side contained. Back side contained. I got you, baby. You ain't going to trick me.
Next Saturday, it's another full slate of action at noon. Both Michigan and Minnesota taking the field. Then at 3:30, the Badgers host Troy. Then in prime time, we got a conference First game for you, Rutgers and Penn State, or some will see Iowa taking on Pitt. That's next Saturday on BTN and BTN to go. Go to btn.com/gamefinder. Find the game in your market. Freedom back in Moladoon. Redshirt freshman, a converted tight end, making a play to stop South Alabama on 4th down and 4. So Nebraska has the football for the 3rd time. And this one, they give it to Alonzo Moore. Moore gets to the edge and has a bunch more. That'll be a first down, a pickup of close to 20 yards. They give him 19. Let's go back to the studio in Chicago and check in with Mike Hall.
Hey, Eric, the other game going on right now on a BTN alternate channel, FIU in Indiana, and FIU strikes first. Eric Mago to Thomas Owens from 21 yards out. They just ended the first quarter. Hoosiers down 7-zip.
Thank you, Mike. That's a 14-0 score here at Memorial Stadium. Closing in on the 1-minute mark of our first quarter. Armstrong fakes it to Newby. Wants a bunch, has a man. It is caught. Jordan Westerkamp doesn't make too many mistakes. His first grab.
You can see what Mike Riley likes to do with this offense. About every play, there's a motion and a misdirection. Tough to defend.
Westerkamp had 7 grabs a week ago. That catch is 72nd as a college player. Now to the other side, and it's read beautifully. Good defense played by Jalen Thompson. Brandon Riley on the catch.
Well, you got 2 receivers out there, the quick pass. You got one guy's going to catch it. The other receiver, he's got to make the block on the secondary force. He didn't do it then, it could have been disastrous.
Loss of a yard on that catch by Riley. Armstrong's dart too strong through the hands of Lane Hovey. First time he hadn't been able to make a play. Well, we are finishing off the final ticks of the first quarter, and folks, you're not going to want to go anywhere. When we come back for the second quarter, we're going to be joined by Big Ten royalty. Barry Alvarez. Everyone knows him as the athletic director of Wisconsin. Well, before that, obviously a wonderful head coach. But before that,
linebacker.
He was a wonderful linebacker here.
Deluxe here for the Cornhuskers.
Good old number 33 in your program. He is going to join us here in the booth. We'll talk about his days at Nebraska.
Watch the quarterback draw.
On 3rd down and 11, Armstrong again with a ton of time. And looking for Riley, his pass is too strong. And it'll bring up 4th down and 11 with 3 seconds remaining in the first quarter. It's a reunion of the 1965 Nebraska team. Tom Osborne. Bob Devaney, of course, was the head coach back in '65, but Osborne part of the staff. Barry Alvarez. It was 50 years ago.
Wow.
It was the first Nebraska team that achieved a #1 ranking. This should be the final play of the first quarter. Tyson Brockmeyer is punting for an injured Sam Foltz, and that'll be a touchback. So we have played 15 minutes, and it's been all Nebraska so far. Nebraska on top of South Alabama, 14-0. And when we come back, we will talk with Barry Alvarez. So far, so good for Nebraska. They lead South Alabama 14-0, getting ready to start our second quarter. And well, a celebration of the 1965 Nebraska football team earlier today. Barry Alvarez, now the athletic director, of course, of Wisconsin. You played linebacker on that 65 team. Nebraska football, what did it mean to you 50 years ago?
Well, it wasn't quite as elaborate, and the stadium wasn't quite filled out, but we were a pretty good football team. A lot of good players, actually very talented team. But Nebraska football has always been important as long as I can remember it.
Barry, I've been telling everybody on our crew.
Pass is incomplete, looking deep, and we're going to have a flag come down. That may be a case of a defenseless player. It was the tight end Gerald Everett going down the seam, and he was walloped by Byerson Cockrell. Looks as if Everett's okay, but he was hit hard with that pass over his head.
Now the discussion will be, was it targeting or not?
Personal foul. Defense. Unnecessary roughness. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
He went high with the shoulder.
Hey, look, when you launch yourself and go high, you got a problem.
So 15 yards to start this drive for South Alabama. Remember, last drive, South Alabama had deep penetration into Nebraska territory, but turned it over on downs. And now, indecision on the line, another flag coming down.
Offense, number 71, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Now, this is what happened to Nebraska's tight end a week ago. David Sutton, a pass well over his head, and he had his legs taken out a little late, a little low, and resulted in an ankle injury.
I was surprised that wasn't flat. Granted, the defender didn't know if he had the ball or not, but he was a defenseless player.
And Sutton's going to be out for a handful of weeks. Xavier Johnson hadn't played so far today. His first carry knocked out of bounds by Michael Rose-Ivy. All right, back to Barry Alvarez. You played for legendary coach Bob Devaney. What was that like?
He was way ahead of his time, as I remember it. We practiced differently than everyone else. He recruited nationally. A lot of fun to play for. And he's a guy that I idolized and I patterned my entire career after.
Barry, I was impressed with 33 on that film. Linebacker, man. You got your head across the bow, you wrapped your arms, you drove your legs, and he went down.
We could do that, Mace, but it had to play in a phone booth. If we had to play, Dad couldn't play.
Look at that, huh?
That hair.
And you look mean there, Barry, I'll tell you.
How did you get?
You look like a guy from Burgettstown,
Burgettstown, PA. Here we come.
Yeah,
That's
how did
right.
you get from Western Pennsylvania all the way out here to Lincoln?
There was an assistant coach from Burgettstown, a guy named John Melton, who recruited me and ended up coaching me.
You know, Eric, I don't know if you've ever been to Burgettstown, but I always joke with Barry. I said, you're in Burgettstown and you got one of those little alligators on your shirt, you're a visitor. You're not from there. I promise you that. Am I right or not?
That's exactly right.
But, you know, I was talking to the crew. I've not been back to Lincoln and the University of Nebraska since '94 when I was at Kansas in the old Big 8. And I can't believe how Lincoln has changed, and these athletic facilities are second to none.
Before you said that, Mace, I mentioned to you, I thought they had the best facilities in the country. We traveled the country in designing some of our new facilities. Every one of our people came back and said these were the best.
Yeah, that's a nominal gain by Xavier Johnson. There is laundry on the field, though. We're going to have a couple of penalties to sort out. It's been a long day for you already. You woke up in Madison. Congratulations, your Badgers with a decisive win over Miami of Ohio. And then you got all the way here in a hurry. That's pretty impressive.
Well, you know what? It's college football. I love watching it. It was nice to see Paul to get a great win today, his first win. Our guys played well, bounced back from a tough game against Alabama. But Sean Eichhorst, my former deputy, is now the athletic director here. Kind of pressured me, not pressured me, but encouraged me to come back since we played at 11, 7 o'clock game. We had 45 guys off that team that came back. So, and some of them I haven't seen since we played. So it was fun to get back.
Hey, Barry, besides being the athletic director, you're also on the college football playoff committee. When does that really start heating up?
Well, our first meeting when we start our first rankings, first week in November. But we have conference calls, and we're all to keep up with it, and have our own rankings and start our statistics and try to see as many games as we possibly can right now.
Is there ever a time when you miss being on the sideline?
Yeah, after a big win.
Well, there was a bunch of those for you, Coach. We really appreciate you spending some time with us, and we know you have 45 friends from that 65 team that are still here with you. I'm sure you want to hang out with them, so thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, guys. Great to be with you.
Barry Alvarez, athletic director, former head coach at Wisconsin, former wonderful linebacker under Bob Devaney here at Nebraska. 65 team, the first team in Nebraska history to achieve a #1 ranking. Perfect 10-0 before losing the bowl game against Bear Bryant's Alabama Crimson Tide. 2nd down and 9. Impressive drive for South Alabama. That's an incompletion. Let's go back to Chicago and check in with Mike Hall.
All right, Eric, it's time to update you on Michigan State, Oregon. It's a tie game until Aaron Burbridge does this. Great effort, spinning, diving towards the end zone to give the Spartans the lead. 12 minutes to go in the first half. It's 14-7 MSU.
Thanks, Mike. That's an important game. Not only for Michigan State, but an important game for the conference. Last season, Michigan State losing out in Eugene, trying to get some revenge. Third down play, third down of the bunch. Clemens looking deep, has a man, incomplete. He was looking for Gerald Everett. Everett's been a busy guy. And the pass just too strong. Bison Cockrell on the coverage.
Yeah, a little long, and he got rid of it just in time because the blitz was on its way. It was a free rusher, and he let it go, and man, did he get hit.
A little bit surprised that they went for such a deep play. Maybe if they'd gone underneath and at least got a handful of yards, they could have thought about going for it on 4th down. But now it would be a punting situation. Brandon McKee's first punt was just 26 yards. We'll try and do a little bit better here. Back deep, Jordan Westerkamp. And that may be a delay.
Delay of game. Offense, number 39. 5-yard penalty. Remains 4th down.
Is that really the fault of the punter when they have a delay of the game?
No, he doesn't snap the ball. Unless he's out there late, no.
Does he call for the snap, or is it the personal protector?
No, the personal protector, he checks to make sure, number one, they have 11 guys on the field. Everybody's ready to go. He tells the center ready to go, and then the center snaps the ball when he's ready. There is no snap count.
That one's straight up in the air. It'll come down at the 24 and take a nice bounce for the Jaguars. Oh, man, this will turn out nice. That'll land inside the 10 at the 9. That's where Tommy Armstrong and Nebraska will start on offense in a moment. Now there's the Student Union here at the campus of Nebraska. 12:16 remaining in our second quarter. Cornhuskers looking for their first win of the season. On top of South Alabama with Glenn Mason, Rick Pizzo. I'm Eric Collins, Tommy Armstrong Jr. Your thoughts on how things are going so far?
You know, I like what they're doing. You can't go from having a non-existent running attack to just a dynamite one. I like the commitment what they're doing. They're still going to mix it up. They got a philosophy. They're trying to blend what they believed in at Oregon State and what historically has worked here at Nebraska. I think they're doing a good job.
74 rushing yards so far for Nebraska. They try Newby. And Newby still on his feet. Out to the 18-yard line. That's 8 tough yards for Newby. Let's go down to Rick Pizzo. What have you noticed about Tommy Armstrong?
Well, Eric, it's really interesting. When Amir Abdullah left, everyone wondered who would be the offensive leader for this Nebraska team. All eyes fell naturally on quarterback Tommy Armstrong. He's told me in the past he is not a vocal leader by nature. He really has to work at it, and yet you can see the guys gravitate towards him, and I have a feeling some of that, Eric, is because his personality matches up with his new head coach much better than the former head coach here, Bo Pelini.
2nd down and 1. Yeah, talk about a contrast of styles. You can't get any more juxtaposed from Bo Pelini to Mike Riley in terms of the way you focus on the game of football and in carrying yourself.
Well, I think that's quite typical rather than atypical. You see, when someone changes in a program, they normally go from one extreme to the other, and they sure did, as you mentioned, from Bo Pelini, who was a very fiery guy, very demonstrative guy, to Mike Riley, who's just very calm, cool, collective, low-key, but a deep thinker.
Fresh set of downs. 11 minutes remaining in our first half. Fullback Janovich in motion. And this has been all Newby in the first half. We expected to see more of Mikhail Wilbon, Monty Cross. That was the case a week ago against Brigham Young. But they seem to be making a concerted effort to get 34 involved.
Yeah, you know, there's two parts of any good offense. It's consistency, and you're seeing that out of the Nebraska offense right now with that middle run and that down, down, down with the tight end kicking out. Now what they got to get is a couple big plays. You blend consistency with big plays, that's when you really roll.
Newby, 74 rushing yards. Scored a touchdown on the ground and via the air. They fake to Newby. And a dart caught by the freshman Morgan. His second reception. Morgan's got a chance to be special. True freshman, just 18 years of age, out of New Orleans.
Yeah, you look at Stanley Morgan for a freshman. Watch, the best thing he does right here is he comes back toward the ball. You got to come back toward the ball, and that'll eliminate the defender from making a play on it. And he caught it in his hands.
In case you didn't know, Stanley Morgan Jr. not related to the Stanley Morgan who played for the New England Patriots back in the 70s and 80s, also a wide receiver. That Stanley Morgan is called the Stanley Steamer. Newby has it again. Trying to get to midfield. He stopped a yard short. Tackle made by Jalen Daniels, a pickup of 5.
A lot of people look at the running game and they don't get excited about a 4 or 5 yard run. But when you're trying to run the middle of any defense like that, if you can consistently run it for 4 or 5 yards, I want to tell you, all of a sudden that 44-yarder's going to come out of there because someone's going to get out of their gap to try to make a play, and then when you get the home run.
Play action. Armstrong over the middle. It's complete again. Hovey with the grab. He's to the 35. Tackle made by Roman Buchanan, but it's a pickup of 19.
Yeah, he was wide open, but I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I just like the delivery of Tommy Armstrong. Floats that just a little bit, but he's right on the money with the ball. He makes it easy for the receiver to catch.
Today's United States Marine Corps leader of the game is that man right there, Lane Hovey. Perfect GPA, 4.0 in finance. He is a former walk-on, now on scholarship from Adel, Iowa. So many stories like that over the years here in Nebraska. Walk-ons who perform and get rewarded with scholarships. Mike Riley says that's going to be an important tenet of how this program operates in the years going forward. Timeout on the field. Well, we've got soccer coming your way, and it's going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Penn State and Indiana. Big Ten men's soccer. Indiana ranked 10th in the country. They're taking it on the road in State College. Big win for Penn State football team today. Their first win of the year after losing against Temple. They rebounded with a win this afternoon against Buffalo. After the timeout called, first down carry, Newby, a whole bunch of yards. He's inside the 15. Terrell Newby, 18 more.
Well, you'll see it here again. Here's the fullback. Same play they did before with the tight end blocking back on the defensive end. Now they just did with a back in the backfield. Same type of play.
That is the 5th time that we've had a run of 10 yards or more. And how about that last week? 126 yards running the football already. 116, the bulk of it by Newby.
Maybe we'll even get a smile out of Mike Riley.
Armstrong throwing off the back foot, completes it to Stanley Morgan. Morgan's 3rd catch. That'll get the Huskers inside the 10.
With all these exotic defenses that are being played now, and the ability of offenses to throw the ball in the perimeter like that to really skilled players, you better have some good corners, because you can see right there, if that corner doesn't make the tackle, it's gone.
Trey Foster checks in as the tight end. He's number 42. Scored a touchdown a week ago. They keep it on the ground. Newby looking for space. He's got the end zone. Touchdown, Nebraska. Terrell Newby now over 100 scored 3 touchdowns here in our first half. Someone's looking a lot like Amir Abdullah. Maybe even Mike Rozier. Drew Brown, his 3rd extra point is true. Add it all up, it is a 91-yard touchdown drive. Terrell Newby having a night here in Lincoln. Nebraska on top of South Alabama. Terrell Newby has done it again.
Let's watch this play. It's Trey Foster. Just the gap play. And watch the job he does. He doesn't block one guy. He's going to get 2. What a great job. And that's why they walk in the end zone.
That's impressive. We didn't even know if Trey Foster is going to play. Dealing with a sprained ankle that he injured back in camp and re-injured a week ago against BYU. Ball loose, picked up by Terrence Timmons. He muffed it, was able to pick it up, and it'll be tough starting field position for South Alabama. That's Bose Joseph, who is slow to get up. He's still on the ground. A defensive back working on special teams. He was the one who dove after the loose ball. And he still hasn't gotten up.
Yeah, the sophomore from Florida. There's a pile.
Now, with Bose Joseph being looked at, we will take a timeout and we'll be back to Lincoln in a moment. Yeah, some of the best fans in the entire country put their hands together for Bose Joseph. Scary moment for him, now walking on his own to the Nebraska sideline.
That's always a good sign.
If we have more information, we will pass it along. Now Nebraska already a bit depleted. They're playing without Jack Gangwich, who's going to be out for a couple of games. We told you no Josh Banderas, no Dedrick Young. Both Banderas and Young suffering injuries in practice, Coach. Is that the worst thing that could happen to a head coach, losing guys midweek during practice?
Anytime I got a player injured in practice, it really upset me. You tried to avoid injuries whatsoever in practice.
A late handoff, and it's going to result in positive yards. Xavier Johnson, his 2nd series. He was popped by Michael Rose-Ivy, but it's a gain of 8 yards.
You can see Xavier Johnson, the 5'11", 180-pound sophomore. You can see why he gained 121 yards last week in a 92-yard rush. He's got talent.
They fake the pitch out, and now they get it out to Johnson. He's got the first down. That tackle by Michael Rose-Ivy. Michael Rose-Ivy and Jonathan Rose both playing in their first game here in 2015. Both suspended against BYU. It's a good thing. There's Jonathan Rose. It's a good thing that Michael Rose-Ivy, his suspension ended this week because they are ultra thin at linebacker. First down at 10. Ball is bobbled by the quarterback, and it results in a loss, a big-time loss. Freedom Akinmoladun again. Johnny on the spot. He and Luke Gifford combined for a loss of 7.
Eric, I told you before, one center quarterback exchange is unacceptable. When you have 2, and you know, by the center, that snap seems fine. I got to think that Cody Clemens has taken his eye off that snap. It's got to be the problem. Or he's got poor hands. If he's got poor hands, you can't be in the shotgun.
Usually your quarterback has the best hands on the team. Has to. Catching a snap every play. 2nd down and 17. Oh, big-time penetration and a good play call. Coming out of the backfield, Xavier Johnson. That save would have been a disaster. Doesn't make it back to the original line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down and long.
Well, you can see him take off right here. They got a little twist, and there's not one, but there's 2 defenders in there. If he doesn't get rid of that ball on the money, a sack.
Aaron Williams checks in late here, comes in as an extra defensive back for Nebraska. 3rd down and 13. Clemens wants a bunch. Caught! Oh my, what a catch! Josh McGee on top of Daniel Davey. Biggest play of the game for either side. 55 yards.
You know, when we were talking to the offensive coordinator, Brian Vincent, he said, I really like the matchups on the outside. If we can hold up with our offensive line against that defensive front of Nebraska, we will get big plays. And there it is, proof.
Josh McGee, a great story, a transfer from UAB. It's the biggest play of the day for South Alabama.
Well, a week ago, South Alabama had 4 plays over 50 yards. They only, they only had the ball 21 minutes. They only had 56 offensive plays and won the game. Why? Big plays, a couple penalties, hurt them on offense.
Terrence Timmons in the backfield alongside Clemens. And Clemens has it, throws incomplete, looking for the tight end, Braden Bowman. There's Marcus Newby. A lot of playing time for him. Mark Banker having to mix and match at the linebacker spot. Marcus Newby playing because Dedrick Young, the true freshman out of Arizona, is not dressed. Chris Webber, backup Mike linebacker, getting playing time because Josh Banderas did not dress. 3rd down. Pass is caught. Kuchera down to the 5. Another big play. 17 yards for the Jaguars.
Wow, I tell you, watch the quarterback, Cody Clemens. He looks at the whole way. They're going to go to the slant route, and he bides his time until he comes open in the second window, and you can only do that when you get good line protection.
Mark Banker's defense has given up a 3rd down and 13 and a 3rd down and 8 on this drive. 1st and goal. Pitch out right side, Timmons. Pushed out of bounds. Good closing speed, Nate Gary.
Eric, when I watch South Alabama out there, the guys in the white shirts, they sure don't look like a football team that have only been playing football 7 years. Now, granted, they got a 7 transfer from UAB, but this program, yeah, they're overmatched here in Lincoln, Nebraska, but that program's going in the right direction.
Went to a bowl game a year ago, just their 2nd year eligible to play in a bowl. Similar play. This one doesn't fool anyone either. Everett pushed out of bounds. Marcus Newby. So a couple of plays going horizontally here inside the 10.
Well, you know, those plays should be tougher down there because the defense, they don't have a lot of depth to protect. You're so close to the goal line, to the end line, that you can squeeze things and play everything forward.
Those the injured linebackers. Young on the left, Banderas on the right. Nebraska trying to hold. 3rd down and goal.
Looks like a little confusion.
Play clock winding down and the timeout's called. That is the first timeout called by South Alabama. Important part in today's game for Joey Jones and the Jaguars.
You could see the running back, Terrence Timmons. He was confused. He looked at the quarterback. He looked to the sideline, and that's a good move by Joey Jones. But down here, any type of confusion, a chance to get a touchdown, get on the board is worth a timeout.
Busy Saturday around the conference. Stay tuned for the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. Dave, Jerry, and Howard will be along from our Chicago studio with the scores, the highlights, and the news that you need from around the Big Ten. It has been another typical Saturday marathon for the guys back in the studio. You've done that before.
I have, and you know what? Those guys deserve it, especially DiNardo. Guy, I'm really nice to him all the time. He loves to give me a hard time. He'll be in a good mood, though, because Notre Dame pulled one out against Virginia at the wire.
3rd down and goal. Clements caught again, short of the goal line. Daniel Davey with the sure tackle.
I think the best thing Nebraska did this play right here is those 4 guys inside really squeeze. Do not give the quarterback a chance to pull it down and run it if there's no receivers that are open. I think that's good coaching.
3 straight completions here inside the 10. All to the right side. And for the most part, the Jaguars aren't making any progress.
I'd kick the field goal here.
Well, we'll see what Joey Jones does. He's got the final call. Back in a moment. Nebraska looking for a stop on 4th down. It appears as if South Alabama's going to go for it. Coach, a moment ago, you said you think they should kick the field goal.
Yeah, I'd kick the field goal here because minute 44 to go ahead. We're down 21-0. Kick the field goal. Get the sure 3. Feel something good about yourself going into the locker room at halftime. Build a little momentum.
Joey Jones doesn't agree. He's going to go for it on 4th down and goal. Pressure's on. Pass to the end zone. Incomplete. Great coverage, Nate. Gary cloaked all over Gerald Everett.
So you get a stop, and there's Nebraska. They're running the sideline. Coaches are hugging them, high-fiving them, everything. And you can look at South Alabama. They got their heads down, walking off the field. Could have been the opposite.
Oh, my. Rosh Dezuris just flattened Clements. So we have had a 15-play drive that went scoreless for South Alabama. And now Nebraska survives a 12-play drive that ends up scoreless for South Alabama.
You saw the pressure put on there, but really the good coaching point was by the safety, Nate Gary. He knew they were going to go to the slant, so what did he do? He jumped in. He's not worried about the slant and go down there in the goal line. There's not enough depth in the end zone to work that. Well coached.
Gary had an interception back in the first quarter. Also laid some licks coming out of that safety position. Trying to get it away from the shadow of the goal line. Darting forward for a pair is Newby. He is the only I-back that we have seen in today's game for Nebraska.
Well, he's rested. He only had 10 carries last week. So he's ready to go. And, you know, when you get the ball back down here and your back's to the goal line, number 1 coaching point, you got to pick up a first down at the very least to give yourself room to punt it out.
Already over the century mark for Newby. A couple of touchdowns rushing, also a touchdown catch. Barrels out across the 15. That'll move the sticks. Pickup of 11 for Newby. That's the 6th time today he's had a rush of at least 10 yards.
He's the workhorse, and you want to give all the credit to the back. I'm going to give a lot of credit to the offensive line. Love those guys.
Let's see how frisky Nebraska's going to get. Armstrong dumps it down, and Riley can't hang on. Jalen Thompson on the coverage. Riley had a big game last week, 5 catches, 70 yards. He has 1 catch so far today for -2 yards. No longer living the life of Riley, I guess.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned the offensive line from Nebraska, and they're not the biggest line. They're not small. They probably average around 300 pounds. But they were talking, they'd rather take athleticism in the offensive line than really big guys. And I adhere to that philosophy. I like that.
That's what you had in Minnesota.
If you're going to pull your guys.
Armstrong all sorts of time. My goodness. Finally settles for the dump down. Alonzo Moore, and he goes out of bounds. 30 seconds remaining in the first half.
I thought South Alabama was counting the 3 Mississippis before they ran there. I didn't know what happened there, but you know, if you're going to pull your linemen and stuff, you need athletes up front. But they get knocked down, they're twisting, they're falling over each other. 55 looks like he's out of gas, and
that was actually a 4-man rush.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, they've been on the field a lot.
That front wall of Lewis, Utter, Reeves, Condolo, and Gates doing a good job against South Alabama. This is a designed quarterback run, and Armstrong gets his legs taken out. Clock will continue to move. And I don't know if Nebraska has any designs to run another play. They'll have to. Time is called. South Alabama calls a timeout that will make Nebraska call another play. Story of the day, the ground attack. Already 137 yards. Coach Mason, that is 11 yards more than Mike Riley's bunch had in 60 minutes against BYU.
Well, there was a big emphasis on it. South Alabama called a timeout here with 23 seconds with 4th and 4. You're going to force them to punt the ball. And if you're going to force them to punt the ball, you're going to come with the block. And you really don't care if you rough the punter. Just let them go, baby.
You also mentioned, Coach, that the penalty situation needed to be rectified. Nebraska a week ago committed 12 penalties. They've only got 2 so far through 30 minutes. 12
penalties and 10 penalties, which they think they should have been able to control. And, you know, you're going to get a pass interference. You're going to get a holding. But there was 10 last week. Legal procedure, not lining up right, false start. They've got to clean up, and so far they've done it.
No Fultz as a punter. Instead, this is Tyson Brockmeyer. And Brockmeyer gets off a spinning kick. Fair catch will be called for, and the ball's muffed. Oh, the ball is muffed. Was it touched by the receiver? Jalen Thompson came up, and did he touch the football? If he did, it's Nebraska ball. It appears as if it is Cornhusker football.
Now, if you're Mike Riley, you say, give me that 2-minute offense and get that Hail Mary ready, baby.
Oh, yeah, looked as if it hit both hands. So it's a live ball picked up by Nebraska. And South Alabama really did that to themselves. They called timeout to make Brockmeyer punt it away. And it results in great field position for Nebraska.
Hey, I got 12 seconds. I got 2 timeouts. Good situation. What you want to do right here, you're telling you guys, if we can get ourselves in a position to try a field goal, we've won this situation.
Yeah, Nebraska wants to improve on the field goal situation. Drew Brown missed a pair last week against the Cougars. Pass is caught to Riley. Wisely gets out of bounds. That clock was, well, not much time went off. Still 10 seconds remaining.
2 seconds? We're in Lincoln, aren't we?
They still have a chance for 5 more plays here.
Hey, if I'm Joey Jones, I'm saying, you got to be kidding me. 2 seconds. And he didn't catch it and go right out of bounds. He danced.
From the 25-yard line, Armstrong has got a ton of arm, looking for Hovey, incomplete. And this time, well, now 5 seconds are on the official game clock. So there's 5 seconds remaining here in the first half. You take another shot, or you bring on the kicking team?
I'm going to kick the field goal right now. That's what I wanted, was a chance to do it. I don't want to take a chance of something going wrong. Snap it, place it, kick it. Plus, I want to see how this guy does under pressure. As you mentioned, he missed 2 last week. Someplace during the year, I'm going to need the field goal kicker to go out there in a pressure situation and win me a game. What better way to practice in a live game here in Memorial Stadium against South Alabama right now?
This will be a 42-yarder. Brown spins it through. That's what Brown will do for you. First field goal he's made all season. Missed a week ago from 40 and 41. Just needs to go a little further out. And then he's perfect. From 42, the three-pointer makes it 24-0. Nebraska on top of South Alabama. We have reached halftime. Stay tuned for the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. Dave, Jerry, and Howard, they're coming up next. Welcome back, everyone. The capital city of Nebraska, and the band plays on. College football season in full swing. So far, so good. Nebraska on top of South Alabama, 24-0. Nebraska, of course, looking for their first win here of the 2015 season with Glenn Mason. I am Eric Collins. Mike Riley made it clear he wanted fewer mistakes and more running of the football with his eye back. So far, so good.
You know, sometimes we meet with coaches, they tell us one thing, then we watch the game and you get something else. But Mike was true to his word. You think about Newby, he had 10 carries for only 43 yards last week. 17 carries, over 100 yards. And let's credit that offensive line. They're only basically running 2 plays right up the middle, right at the gut at that South Alabama defense, and then that gap play and the tight ends and doing a good job of blocking. But it sure is the show for number 34 tonight. And the only thing lacking in this offense right now is big plays. They're getting those 4 or 5 yarders, but the biggest play on the night's a 25-yard pass. I'm sure they want big plays.
Newby, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 through the air. No turnovers for Nebraska. Gotta like that. Penalties, just a pair for 30 yards. Now, South Alabama, we should mention, they're doing okay. They just made a couple of mistakes, a couple of turnovers, and they had 2 really long drives that they weren't able to cash in on.
Well, Josh McGee, that 55-yard reception was impressive. They got some players. I'm impressed with that young club.
All right, we'll have the second half when we come back to Lincoln. Don't go anywhere. Stadium under the lights. Second game of the year for the Cornhuskers after losing against Brigham Young. Well, a more definitive effort in the first half against South Alabama, 24-0. The Cornhuskers on top of the Jaguars as we get ready to start our third quarter. Another sellout, no surprise. 89,822. NCAA record, 342nd consecutive sellout.
That goes back to 1962.
They were selling out games here at Memorial Stadium before the University of South Alabama was even established. South Alabama opened up its doors in 1963. And the consecutive sellout streak had already begun.
Well, put things in perspective. Nebraska has 836 more victories than South Alabama. I don't think South Alabama will ever catch it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Nebraska has a lot more victories than a lot of people that have been playing football just as long as they have.
Well, they just won 1 victory here in 2015. They're not used to beginning seasons without a season opening win. They had the NCAA's longest streak, 29 straight seasons. Consecutive wins to get things started. Corliss Waitman kicks this one off. And it'll go back through the back of the end zone for a touchback. Let's check in with Rick Pizzo. Rick, what's going on down there?
Well, Eric, I had the chance to chat with Mike Riley on his way into the locker room, as you might imagine, ecstatic with the play of his offensive line. Also pointed out, really pleased with Tommy Armstrong's decision-making and the confidence with which he's throwing the ball. Defensively, he said they've been physically dominant up front, but he still has major concerns with how many big plays they're giving up in the passing game.
Yeah, South Alabama did move the ball on a couple of drives, long drives, but ended up giving the ball over on downs in the second quarter. All right, here we go. Tommy Armstrong Jr., 16-6 as a starting quarterback. Starts under center, hands it off. What's new? Terrell Newby, and Newby out across the 40, out to the 45, and close to midfield.
Well, the only thing different on that play is they came out in a different formation. They used 12 personnel, which means 1 running back, 2 tight ends. You know, before they were doing a lot of motion with the tight ends. They just lined up in 2 tights, 1 back, man on man, find the open seam, first down.
Coach Mason, Nebraska's longest play of the year, 27 yards. It was a catch by Brandon Riley a week ago. Is that just the way the offense is, or are there not enough playmakers with Kenny Bell and Amir Abdullah both leaving?
I'll answer that
this
after
is
the
Riley
play.
on the designed wide receiver run, and that'll get him across midfield. Well, you'll answer that question in a second. Let's do the Quicken Loans quarterback comparison first and talk about Armstrong and Clements.
Well, you know, you look at both of them. I'm impressed with both, but again, Tommy Armstrong, He picked up right where he left off last week. 70% completion, putting the ball in the money, making the right decisions. Cody Clemens, offensive line, doing a pretty good job. He got the big play of the game, though. He found Josh McGee down there for a 55-yarder.
On a 2nd down and 5, this is Newby. And Newby is tackled in space, a little bit short of the 1st down marker. All right, big plays. Nebraska, do they have the playmakers to do it? Do they have the scheme to do it?
No, I think that they've got the playmakers. Seen them go down very much. Almost everything they're doing is a controlled run, intermediate pass. And if you're going to do a controlled run, intermediate pass, if it's a pass, you need a missed tackle. If it's a run, you need great downfield blocking. You have to stay after. Lead. If you keep going 4 or 5 yards, the 55-yarder will come.
3rd down and 1. Armstrong out of the shotgun. Option left. Newby's got it, and Newby's going to be stopped short of the 1st down marker. It'll bring up 4th down. Let's quickly go to Mike Hall for a studio update. Knuckle time in East Lansing. Thank you, Mike.
How many times do you see the kicking game decide a closely fought battle?
Mark D'Antonio. You don't like that. Brockmeyer replacing Sam Foltz. High kick, fair catch called for and made by Josh McGee at the 11. We saw Jalen Thompson trying to return punts in the 1st half. He muffed one, and they said, you know what? How about McGee instead?
How about practice Friday and Brockmeyer? Foltz couldn't punt. They had Brockmeyer out there, and the whole team was going wild because he was punting the ball, and they were down it on the 1 or 2 yard line. Great job. I think they had a sense of relief. They weren't sure how he would do. He's doing just fine.
Punter. Local kid from Aurora, Nebraska. So South Alabama, they've got the football. Cody Clements out of the gun. Hands it off Tyrese Thomas. Against the Jaguar running game. Tackle made by Malik Collins and Greg McMullen.
You mentioned Malik Collins. When we talk to the South Alabama coaches and say, what's your impression of the Nebraska defense? That is the first guy they talk to us. Number 7. Man, he is a talented guy, active, makes plays all over the place. We're not sure we'll be able to handle him.
Like a dancing bear. 300-pounder, but really quick on his feet. Pressure doesn't get to Clements. Lofts it off to McGee, and again, he beats Daniel Davey. Almost a carbon copy of a big play back in the 1st half.
Well, you know, if you're going to play that press coverage, that man coverage, you have to be able to defend the route. Is that because of all the back shoulder throws and everything like that, if the ball is properly thrown to the outside, over the outside shoulder, which you saw right there, either it's going to be a catch or an incompletion. Well executed offensive play.
Quick snap and a short. Thomas, I want to go back to that play. Davey, that's the 2nd time we've seen him go shoulder to shoulder with McGee down the sideline and hold on to the shoulder pad. Neither time has he been whistled for an infraction.
Well, then you're not holding if you don't get called. No, that defense, without a doubt, I'm sure the South Alabama coaches will be going wild. They'll get him next time. You watch.
And Davey's going to have to answer some questions in the film room. Great play, Michael Rose-Ivy. Hadn't played since game in 2, and he is making up for lost time. Loss of 2.
Well, you'll see right here that the key thing that you have to do, you have to put an edge on the defense, and when he does right there, there's no way the ball will get outside. And if no help, but all your help's coming out. Well executed.
3rd to bunch. Pass is incomplete. Ball was juggled and dropped. Jonathan Rose on the defense. So a promising drive. Bama. And they'll punt the football. South Alabama's, they've had some chances. They had two turnovers that resulted in 10 points. And they had 2 long drives that they got inside the 20 where they weren't able to get any points.
Yeah. I told you field goal, didn't I?
You're right. It's not even second guessing. You first guessed it. Let's see if Jordan Westerkamp can get some room to run. It's been a quiet day for Westerkamp. Bounces over. Touchback. It would be a touchback, so good starting field position for Nebraska. We do have a penalty against South Alabama. Penalty is declined, so Nebraska's going to have the football at the 25-yard line.
Now you'd have the option to move him back and punt it again.
Formation. 5 men in the backfield on the kicking team. That 5-yard penalty will be assessed at the 20-yard line.
You'd have the option to make him punt again, but exactly the right call. You can take it on the 25-yard line leading. Great shape.
Nebraska football when we come back. Welcome back to Lincoln, Nebraska. This is the Haymarket District, anchored by Pinnacle Bank Arena. That's the home of Tim Miles and his Nebraska Cornhuskers. Trying to rebound after a difficult year a year ago, but 2 years ago. They were fantastic. NCAA tournament team. First half shutout pitch by Mark Banker's defense. First time they pitched a shutout in the first half since October of 13 against Purdue. Nebraska's got the football. Tommy Armstrong gives it to Terrell Newby. It has been exclusively Terrell Newby. I don't know if you've seen Mikhail Wilbon once. Either or Monty Cross. Now we do have one rush, but it was by Alonzo Moore on a wide receiver run.
Yeah, we were led to believe that we'd probably see all those running backs in the game in an effort to get this running game going, but I guess they're making a statement with Newby tonight.
A couple of tight ends in the game. Sam Cotton, Trey Foster. Both local kids from Southeast High School in Lincoln. You know how to coach tight ends there. Incomplete, looking for Alonzo Moore.
Talk about Sam Cotton. His dad's a coach, Barney Cotton. I think we're going to see him next week in Ann Arbor. He's at UNLV.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Sounds good. UNLV and Michigan in Ann Arbor. Congratulations to the Wolverines picking up their first win.
Jim Harbaugh, his debut in the big house.
That is some tall Cotton. 6'4", 250 pounds, former walk-on. Brother Jake also played here in Nebraska. 3rd down and 10. Bullet pass completed up Brandon Riley. Biggest play so far today for Riley. Another product of right here in Lincoln. You went to Southwest High School. Pickup of 18.
Yeah, you know, you heard Mike Riley say it. The best thing that Armstrong has done in the first half, and it's continued right in the second half, is his decision making. He's not tried to force a ball in there. When someone's open, he's been putting it right on the money. Proper decisions.
Second catch for Riley. He had 5 for 70 yards against Brigham Young. Blitz is on. Armstrong has one-on-one coverage. Morgan can't rein it in. Working against Jalen Thompson. Well, we talked in the first half about the Alabama connection with the head coaches in today's game. Mike Riley played for Bear Bryant, won a national championship with the Crimson Tide. Joey Jones played for Bear Bryant as well.
Watch this pressure. Watch the arm strength of Armstrong. He throws off his back foot and overthrows the receiver. And if you're going to make a mistake on a deep pass, Eric, I told you before, don't underthrow a deep ball. If anything, overthrow it.
Newby reverses field, gets a block by Armstrong. Newby down to the 30 before he's wrapped up and brought down. A huge gain to the 23. 33 big yards, the longest play of the night for the Cornhuskers.
And you call it. I think everybody saw it. That play went because of that guy right there. Number 4, Tommy Armstrong. Now just watch. He hands it off, and then he's going to come out here and chop this guy right here. Watch him. Boop. It's textbook. Now, if it was, the only thing that would have made that better if it was designed.
So, first down and 10. Amani Cross is going to give Newby a blow. First time we've seen Cross as the I-back. But that 32-yard gain, which is ruled officially, that's Nebraska's longest play of the year. Cross, a senior out of Gainesville, Georgia. He's in the block for Armstrong to the end zone. Incomplete. Multiple flags come down. Lane Hovey covered by E.J. May. Roman Buchanan, the safety, also in the mix, but it's probably going to go against May.
Pass interference, defense, number 15, 15-yard penalty, results in an automatic first down.
Now, he looked back, but he looked back late. And initially, I didn't think the defender even looked back. And if you don't look back, that's going to get called every time. But the ball was underthrown. You know, if you're a defensive guy, he'd say, hey, wait a minute. You know, I got a right to the ball, too, if we go to make a play on the ball. But that's a tough one when it's underthrown like that. He did try to look back.
Cross remains in the game as the I-back. 3 receivers and a tight end at the disposal of Tommy Armstrong. This is Cross. Spins! Touchdown, Nebraska! Nine-yard touchdown run for Amani Cross. Third rushing touchdown for Nebraska. And they're up 30-0.
Eric, I hate to tell you, but the way that line blocked that play, you could have been in the end zone.
No. Drew Brown's extra point is true. Well, so far, so good. Nebraska wanted to reestablish their ground game. They've done so. 31-0. Nebraska wasn't able to celebrate a week ago here at Memorial Stadium, losing against Brigham Young. They're celebrating early right now. 31 Sept on top of South Alabama. Terrence Timmons tackled at the 29-yard line. Let's check in with Mike Hall for a studio update.
Eric, the Spartans have taken the lead yet again. This is L.J. Scott from 8 yards out. This is all set up because Mark D'Antonio went for it on 4th and 6 inside his opponent's 40-yard line. He got it. They scored. They now have the lead and just got the ball back.
Thank you, Mike. You got to take some chances. You know something about that Glenn Mason with multiple onside kicks and doing crazy things.
Eric, there's 2 ways to coach.
After the play's over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 16, receiving team, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Tough news for Joey Jones. His offense will be backed up.
You talk about taking chances. I always thought there's 2 ways to coach. Wow. 2 ways to coach. You can coach to win, or you can coach not to lose. Coaching to win's a lot more fun.
Now, Mark D'Antonio, everyone knows the chances he's taken. Fake punt against Notre Dame. Little Giants, I think it was called.
Yeah. And you talk about the kicking game and on the punt return, we're talking before, but let's not forget about how he won the Baylor game through the kicking game. So
now you were hands down the friskiest in terms of chance taking. The Big Ten coaches when you're at Minnesota. Who has taken that honor away from you? Who do you think is the Big Ten coach that takes the most chances nowadays?
D'Antonio.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
3 penalties for Nebraska. All of them have been personal fouls. All 3 penalties, personal fouls for the Cornhuskers. Wide open, maybe a touchdown. It is Josh McGee. There is a flag down. There is a flag down. Once again, McGee getting the better of Daniel Davey.
Personal foul, hands to the face, 66 offense. 15-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Coach's son, Joseph Selfo, called for the penalty, and that'll negate the touchdown.
And who's the happiest guy in the stadium?
Daniel Davey.
You got that, and I'll tell you.
Won't be happy in the film room.
The others were pretty well executed fade routes. He was just flat beat on that play. That is not going to work. Yeah, right there in the middle, he puts his left hand up on the face mask. You're going to call it. He's beat bad.
Daniel Davey, you can watch that one away, but it is the third time he's been beaten deep by Josh McGee. Clements lofts this one up to the tight end. Plays made. Everett's got it. Everett down to the 35-yard line. Joshua Kalu saved a touchdown. 37 yards for the Jaguars.
Well, with the exception of the one deep pass in the first half, they played pretty good defense. Starting out the second half, unacceptable. Letting receivers get behind you, letting the inside receiver get right down the gut of the defense. That's not going to work.
Handoff. Damie Aola. All day long, the running attack has gone nowhere. It's like they've been running in quicksand. Pickup of 2. South Alabama has moved the football, but exclusively through the air against Mark Banker's defense.
Well, they worried about it. South Alabama worried about if they'd be able to handle up front their line against that defense line. Good on pass protection, not so good on run blocking.
Vincent Valentine is being looked at. Number 98, middle of your screen. And the center, Selfo, just fell into the legs of Valentine. Well, Nebraska already playing a man down. Jack Gangwish. You can see that left arm with the brace. Gangwish not in uniform, will be out for a couple of weeks. Josh Banderas injured a groin in practice. He is not in uniform. Fellow linebacker Dedrick Young, true freshman, who started last week against Brigham Young. Dedrick Young, like Banderas, hurt during practice this week. He's dealing with a foot issue. So Mark Banker, thinking he's coming to Nebraska and having the cupboard brimming with defensive talent, finding out that a little bit thin right now.
We got 136 guys on this football team, and I don't have any linebackers. It shouldn't work that way.
Kevin Williams, number 92, replaces Valentine. Clements out in the flat. Pass is caught. Marvin Shin, transfer from Alabama, won a couple of national titles at Alabama.
From a passing game, do you see anything you don't like out of South Alabama from Cody Clemens and the receivers and the inside receivers on the routes? If they have time, they can move the football.
Now, they were a little bit shaky first couple of drives, but they've been rock solid ever since. Clements again gets it to a man out in space. Chris Lewis, his third catch down to the 20. So once again in the red zone. Third time the Jaguars have been in the red zone. They still have not scored.
Well, I'm telling you right now, if it comes down to 4th down, I'm kicking the field goal.
Down 31-0.
I'm going to kick the. I got to give my guys something to feel good about. You know, even if I score a touchdown, the chance of me coming back isn't great in this game.
Clements looking for the score. Incomplete. Marvin Shin again working against Daniel Davey. They're basically saying wherever 23 is, that's our best option.
Yeah. Daniel Davey probably thinking, man, they're picking on me. The only way to Daniel to get him to quit picking on you is to make a play.
Again, I'm telling you, his favorite move is holding on to that jersey. He hadn't been whistled once, though. 3rd down and 6. Nebraska trying to keep the shutout alive. Jaguars have converted 5 of 10 on 3rd. And the play clock is at 00. South Alabama able to call timeout before the delay of game. Back to Memorial Stadium in a moment. Coming up on a big 3rd down for South Alabama.
You know, I'm going to go back and work on Davey, but I'm not going to go to the fade. I'm going to go to the post. Fake the fade, run that double post that they like to run, and beat him that way.
Cody Clements has been attacking number 23 in red, Daniel Davey. Top of your screen, he's matched up against Josh McGee. Third down. And this time, pass too strong, looking for Everett. It'll bring up fourth down. Nate Gary on the coverage. And you're thinking field goal?
That's what I would do. I mean, I got to give my guys something to feel good about. We've been down here, coming away with nothing. Goose egg on the board. I got to be able to high-five my guys and do something.
Now South Alabama's kicker, Aleem Sunanan, out of Orlando, dating back to last year. He has made 10 straight field goals. One of the best kickers in the country.
Look at that shoe he's got on there.
Fancy. And Sunanan now has 11 straight field goals. Congratulations. South Alabama has now scored in front of 89,000 here at Memorial Stadium. First points allowed by Mike Riley's black shirt defense. A busy day around the Big Ten. Here's your winners and losers. Maryland losing against Bowling Green at home, and Rutgers falling against Washington State. The only two losers. Minnesota, they needed overtime to take down Colorado State. Congratulations to Bill Cubit and Illinois. After such a difficult preseason, the coaching change, they're now 2-0.
Yeah, we were in there last week, and as I mentioned, I couldn't have been more impressed with a guy going into a tough situation, how classy, how confident, how he's taking control of that program. And let's not forget Iowa. Kirk Ferentz, you know, he's had problems with Iowa State over the years. That's a good win, and he's 2-0.
And that game's up in Ames. You ever been to Ames, Iowa?
I lived there, coached there.
You can have a tenderloin sandwich. Wet your whistle in Ames, Iowa. Touchback, Nebraska will start on offense. Nebraska with 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 by Newby, 1 by Cross. 1 throwing touchdown, Armstrong hitting Newby out of the backfield. And Newby, who was spelled by Cross last time Nebraska had the ball, is back on the field. That means we still have not seen any of Mikhail Wilbon, who was a big part of the offense a week ago. Two tight ends, top of your screen. Newby follows those tight ends, makes the first man miss, dives forward for a pair.
If you're going to run the ball outside, you have to defeat the defender that's responsible for putting the corner on the defense. As you saw right there, South Alabama got up the field right away. You're going to have to turn the ball inside. Big mistake if the running back tries to get around outside of him.
Mikhail Wilbon into the game. They fake it to him, and they get the ball out in space to Alonzo Moore. He's shown that he can really run after the catch. He's close to the first down marker. Coach, we were talking about the scores around the conference. This one isn't around the conference, but I think it's worth passing along. Former Wisconsin coach Brett Bielema stubbing his toe against the Toledo Rockets. A little bit of a surprise there.
Yeah, you know one thing about it? Statistics, like I always say, you know that figures lie and liars figure. You look at the statistics and you cannot figure out how the Razorbacks lost that game, but they did.
People in Columbus, Ohio will mention karma. On his weekly conference call, Brett Bielema calling out Ohio State's schedule. Alonzo Moore with the catch. That'll be a first down. Chains will move. Talk at the beginning of the game. The importance of running the football with the eye backs for Nebraska. The importance of not making mistakes. Penalties were a killer a week ago. 12 penalties, just 3 tonight. South Alabama, they have made some big plays, but only 1 of over 45 yards. Last week against Gardner-Webb, they were just killing Gardner-Webb in that category. Play fake. Armstrong keeps it. Brought down at the 45. Devon Earl with the tackle.
Eric, I used to talk all the time that in coaching, you get what you emphasize. but if you emphasize too much, you don't get anything. And when we talked to Mike Riley, he was very clear on what the emphasis was going to be for this week, game 1 to game 2, and I think they've accomplished their goals.
Now Nebraska still wants to finish this one off in style. Ran off 31 straight points, just gave up a field goal a moment ago. Armstrong on the run. That pass is low, caught by Alonzo Moore. Clean catch for Moore. And that'll be another first down for Nebraska.
Now you're seeing a little different emphasis. You know, before we saw so much of Tommy Armstrong just in the pocket. Now they're putting him on the move. They're putting him on the perimeter.
Nebraska trying to get one off quickly to make sure that that play doesn't get looked at too long. But we will take a longer look. James Kemmerling. The ball is yours. Is this a catch or not?
Ruled the catch on the field. Don't see enough there.
What you need is indisputable video evidence to overturn a call on the field.
Looked like he had his hand under that one. What a classy guy. That guy is right there.
After further review, the ruling on the field of a catch stands as called. First down.
When they use the word stands, that's a code word for meaning there's not enough evidence to overturn. You could say confirmed, which says, you know, we're all good. We saw it. Or you hear the word reversed.
Now, when I talk about a classy guy, I was talking about Mike Riley and Bobby Sagers, the official. Both those guys.
Do you know the names of all the officials as the head coach?
Only the ones I really like or the ones I really dislike.
Hey, you is the name of a lot of guys you don't like. First down at 10. Newby the eye back. Armstrong under center. Couple of fakes. Nobody open, so the dump down to Riley. And Riley makes the first man miss. That'll be 11 more yards. Brandon Riley has really shown that he can run after the catch.
Let's go back to the decision making. You see, they fake the reverse. He sets up in the pocket. He's looking downfield, but you know what? It's not wide open. He knows where his outlet is. He puts it right on the money.
Only one catch for Jordan Westerkamp. Had 7 last week against BYU. Running formation, they give it to Newby. Caught from behind. Bull Barge, true freshman that they are really high on, makes the play. Let's go down on the field. Rick Pizzo, what have you learned down field side?
Eric, a couple of injury updates. Bose Joseph, who was hurt on special teams, was taken to the locker room in the second quarter. He did come back out after the half. I'm told he is available. Vincent Valentine, injured on Nebraska's last defensive drive, had his left ankle retaped. He's walking around somewhat gingerly, but no official word yet on his return.
Rick Pizzo, captain, good news. Brandon Riley with a lot of space. Riley down to the 5. Another big play for Brandon Riley. That's been a theme so far this year. 24 yards.
Well, we talked about this at halftime. They were getting good consistency out of the offense with the exception. Where's the big play going to come from? And now, you know, is it a result of their cracking the code, or is it a result of South Alabama just wearing down?
Newby's already scored 3 touchdowns. 2 on the ground, 1 on a reception. He's the eye back next to Armstrong. Fullback Janovich in motion. Newby hesitates. And he's brought down. Demarion Harper on the tackle. We talked to the coaching staff, and Danny Langsdorff said, I guarantee you Andy Janovich is going to be a ball carrier this year. Not just out there for show and to block people. The fullback will carry the football. But not now. Janovich goes to the sideline. This is a passing formation. Jordan Westerkamp, one of the 3 receivers that are right side of Tommy Armstrong.
He also said Janovich will play at the next level. That's how high on he is.
Westerkamp goes backwards. Sniffed out beautifully. E.J. May. Clock continues to move. We're a half a minute away from the fourth quarter.
You know, Mike Riley's now thinking to himself, you know, we're down here. We're in the red zone. We're running the ball at will. Why are we messing around throwing that stuff out there like that? Come on, let's line up. Let's put that 12 personnel in, 2 tight ends, 1 back. Put it out in the hands of the guys up front. Come off the ball and run it in the end zone.
Now, this isn't Mike Riley's first rodeo. He's just going to wait and think about it. No need to call a play. The third quarter will draw to a close. So we'll go to the other side of the field and see if Nebraska can dial up a touchdown. It'll be a third down when we return. Getting ready to start the fourth quarter. Nebraska up big on South Alabama. We'll be keeping a close eye on the Husker rushing attack tonight. Just 126 rushing yards last week, but 215 yards tonight. Coach Glenn Mason.
Yeah, 215 yards without a big play, so those statistics aren't skewed, which means they've got some consistency. The line's doing a good job. The backs are hitting the hole. The emphasis that they put on this past week is paying off.
Really balanced offense. 215 rushing yards, 219 passing yards. Third down and goal. Ball's on the 6-yard line. Make it the 7. Armstrong. Little bit short, trying to get it to Westerkamp. That will bring up fourth down. And Nebraska looks to the sideline. The field goal unit will come on. That was the first incompletion by Armstrong on that drive. Had completed his first 6 passes.
He underthrew that one because it didn't look like a back shoulder throw. It was just underthrown and kicked the field goal. Put another 3 points on.
25-yard field goal attempt. Drew Brown. And that one goes through. So Brown is made from 25 yards and 42 yards tonight against South Alabama. The lead is back up to 31 for the locals. Welcome back, everyone. Lincoln, Nebraska. Nebraska on top of South Alabama 34-3. One of the great things about Mike Riley, the new head coach for the Cornhuskers, he's a Alabama guy, played for Bear Bryant, and he still has a close connection to Alabama football because of blood. One of his relatives made it here to town.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday, and he asked us, he said, "Did you ever hear of Major Ogilvy?" We said, "Well, of course." He said, "Well, that's my cousin." In fact, he says Major's mother, my Aunt Peggy, is at the game. So here I am. We'll watch this play. I'll finish my story. So I go for my morning run, and I see in the lobby this lady talking to some people with Alabama stuff on. I said, "You wouldn't be Aunt Peggy, would you?" I started talking. I said, "I got to get a picture." I said, "I'm all sweaty." You know what she said to me? "I love sweaty men."
Oh!
So there it is. There's Aunt Peggy and Coach Mason.
And then you probably had to give her $15 to dry clean that outfit that she had. My goodness.
Well, I don't know. It was clean sweat. Let's put it that way.
Major Ogilvy was the main ball carrier. Late 70s for Alabama, back when Bear Bryant had it going on down in Tuscaloosa. Mike Riley was a player back in the early 70s as part of the 1973 national championship team that was led by Richard Todd as the quarterback. Longtime New York Jet.
You are just a wealth of knowledge.
I'm done. That's all I got. Going deep, and a penalty flag comes down. That is Daniel Davey on the coverage of Josh McGee. And Davey, we'll see how it is ruled, but it's not been a great day for Davey.
I thought
Pass
this
interference. Defense, number 23. 15-yard penalty results in an automatic first down.
Daniel Davey, I hate to tell you, you can't complain about that call.
Now Davey's actually going to leave the field. He's had a tough night. First time we've actually seen him go to the bench.
First and 10, South Alabama.
Trying to get to the outside and spinning is Xavier Johnson. He picks up 5 yards. Second down and 5. Well, replacing Daniel Davey is Chris Jones. So Jones wasn't even listed on the 2 deep, but he's playing right now because Davey's having some issues. Still early in the year. Out of the backfield, this is Johnson across midfield, and he stays in bounds. 15-yard gain for Johnson down to the 40-yard line.
Yeah, Michael Rose-Ivy had a chance to make the play inside out. Missed tackle. A short gain goes to a big gain. And, you know, you talk about Chris Jones. He's only a freshman from Jacksonville, Florida. He's sitting on the sideline. He's watching his buddy get beaten. All of a sudden, you're in, baby.
South Alabama has not had issues driving the football. Scoring has been a different issue. Good team tackling right there. The catch was made by DJ Vincent, but 3 different Cornhuskers surround him.
Jonathan Rose took a shot and didn't knock him down, but held on. Got to wrap those arms up, Jonathan.
Yeah, when we talked to Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator at Nebraska, he said his team, on his count, only missed 7 tackles against BYU for a season opening game. That's not bad. Clements going deep. Incomplete. He was looking for Claude Garrett. Let's check in with Mike Hall for a studio update.
Fellas, Michigan State has had a counterpunch for every haymaker Oregon's brought. This time it's L.J. Scott. 38 yards, stretching the lead for Michigan State to 10 points with just under 11 minutes to go in East Lansing.
Thank you, Mike. I love the scheduling. I love when you got 2 top 10 teams meeting, and it's fair. Last year out in Eugene, this year in East Lansing. Why not?
It's exciting. Let's get back to the tackling issue that we talked about. And Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator.
Pause their first time out.
Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator, was talking about how pleased he was tackling, especially in modern day football when you don't really go live in practice. And scout teams, you never tackle them. Everything's fitting up in a bag, and everything has to be situational teaching, and you really don't know how well you're going to tackle till you get into the game. And he feels like they're ahead of schedule at this point in the season.
How difficult is it for defenses to learn new schemes with the new coordinator? We often talk about offensive coordinators coming in and different terminology and all that kind of stuff. But from a defensive perspective, is it difficult to learn a new system when a coordinator comes in?
Very difficult from the standpoint of making adjustments during the flow of the game. To understand, not to know what you're doing, but understand that defense so that when you get hurt, that you know where you have the adjustments you have to make. The one thing about defense is you don't know where the ball's coming. You know, on offense, you dictate it. They call the play, you have a mindset, you execute. You have to react on defense, and you can't be thinking on defense. You just have to react.
3rd down and 11. Nebraska's defense trying to get off the field. Clements' pass incomplete. Never really had a chance to get it to Garrett. It'll bring up 4th down. What's the decision now, Coach?
You got to punt it now.
I don't know. You're in Husker territory.
Punt it.
4th quarter, you're down 31.
What happens, you get to a point in the game and you look at it and you say, you know what, my chance of winning this game not very good. I got to start practice for next week. So you go back to making calls by the book, fundamental. You know, you can't get frustrated because you don't want your players to be frustrated. So you go by the book and do what you're supposed to do.
Westerkamp will not have a chance to return this one. It takes a Cornhusker bounce, a real good Cornhusker bounce, and it's down at the 28-yard line. 12:44 remaining. That is a punt of just 12 yards. Cornhusker ball. No, that is brand new Hibner Stadium here at Nebraska Soccer Stadium. They always draw real well, but an extra large crowd last night. North Carolina, highly ranked in town, and there's Paige Nielsen for the Tar Heels. She is local upon local. She is from Southeast High School here in Lincoln, and her senior year, North Carolina making a commitment to play in her hometown. And maybe they regret that a little bit because, or Nebraska does, because North Carolina won that game, but a great homecoming for Paige Nielsen. What a thrill it must have been for her to play in front of a huge crowd and get a win. One of the best to ever come out.
Well, they had a great trip here, and they had lunch with us, with our whole crew.
That's our background knowledge. We figured it all out over lunch. And Paige Nielsen and North Carolina winning last night against Nebraska's women's soccer team. Terrell Newby still in the game. He's tackled by Blake Dees. When do you start thinking about taking out your big guns?
Well, I was going to ask you, are you a little surprised that Newby's still in the game carrying the ball and not going to Cross or Wilbon or Taylor or whoever? You know, the guy's got a good work night tonight. I'd be pulling him on over, I think.
Yeah, there's been some significant injuries around college football. First 2 weeks of the season. Earlier today, Malik Zaire, quarterback for Notre Dame, being lost in the game against Virginia. Newby, good run for him. Out across the 40. The backup situation at Nebraska in terms of quarterback after Tommy Armstrong, a lot of unknowns. So you may think about protecting him and getting some experience to Riker Fife for A.J. Bush.
Well, you know, I think any time that you get this type of distance, and you always preach about next man up in case a guy gets injured, well, let the next man up get some practice.
Newby has 192 yards, closing in on 200. Could this be? Well, he's a little bit short of 200, a little bit short of the 50-yard line. As a coach, is there any possibility that Mike Riley knows how close Newby is to 200 yards, and that's the reason he's still in the game?
Sure he does. You know, typically the sports information people, when you get to those milestones, if that's important, I don't know, to the coach, but they'll send word down, hey, he only needs 4 more yards, 5 more yards for 200 yards. And a lot of times you'll let a guy stay in to get that, then you'll take him out.
Newby Jr. from Los Angeles, the most complete of all the running backs at Mike Riley's disposal. That pass was behind Lane Hubby. It'll bring up 3rd down. Now Nebraska, a loser on a Hail Mary against Brigham Young a week ago on this field. They're going to take the show on the road next week. We'll see how this new look Husker team travels. They're going to play in Miami against the Hurricanes. It's the first regular season game in the state of Florida since 1951.
You're kidding me.
I wouldn't make that.
That's unbelievable.
Now they've played 22 bowl games. Yeah. 17 Orange Bowls. But regular season, first one since 51. Crossing pattern complete. Newby's got it. He's got the first down. Oh, Newby still on his feet. Down to the 20-yard line. This kid's got some zuzu. 30 more yards for the I-back from L.A.
And he looks fresh as he did in the first quarter. Little double crossing route, dump the ball to the back. South Alabama's taking some shots. Good ball protection. And he's still in there.
236 total yards for Newby and 3 touchdowns. Armstrong throwing it. Armstrong, Western Camp! Did he? He did! Touchdown, Nebraska! '21-yard touchdown throw and catch. Armstrong to Westerkamp.
Good protection again. They're stunting up front. Westerkamp totally beats the defender. Ball on the money. There's Mike. He's smiling. Why wouldn't you?
36th career touchdown pass for Armstrong. And there are flags down on the field.
Ball start, offense, number 80, 5-yard penalty. We will replay the try.
Right on the money, laying out.
Westerkamp is an acrobat, the way that he can contort his body.
And the coaches said to us, you know, he's a little bit stronger than faster than anybody thinks. Watch it right here. Beats him with the move, gets it in the end zone. Silent no more.
.11 remaining, 41-3. Nebraska on top of South Alabama. Drew Brown. Linden is back. Gets it to the goal line. While Garrett goes sideways and he is brought down. Good special teams tackle. Tyron Ferguson. Next Saturday, another full slate of action at noon. Both Michigan and Minnesota taking on the field. Then at 3:30, you got the Badgers hosting Troy. Then prime time, it's a conference game. Rutgers, Penn State, and Happy Valley. Some will see Iowa taking on Pitt. That's next Saturday on BTN and BTN to go. Go to btn.com/gamefinder to find the game in your market.
How about my two old schools playing together against each other? Kent State and Minnesota.
Oh, that'll be fun. The Glenn Mason Bowl.
There it is, baby.
Maybe you should bring the Kansas Jayhawks there as well to play the winner.
Then it would be something, wouldn't it? Huh? And the Jayhawks are struggling. So's Kent State.
New quarterback. This is Dallas Davis. And he comes out throwing. And he does something, well, that was not done by Cody Clemens. He attacks the third-string corner, Chris Jones. Chris Jones came in for a struggling Daniel Davey, and Dallas Davis went in his direction. Davis, a sophomore, Panama City, Florida. There's Chris Jones, came on last series, spelling Daniel Davey.
I always thought you put a up quarterback in, go blitz him. See if he can handle it.
Just a four-man rush. The bubble screen set up to Tyrese Thomas. He stumbles forward. Gets back to the line of scrimmage. He'll bring up third down. Well, is there anything that you feel that Mark Banker and Nebraska needs to worry about? Only 3 points scored by South Alabama. But what kind of grade will you give on the defensive effort of Nebraska?
Well, I'll tell you. You asked two questions. What I'm going to worry about is I need a corner that's not going to get beat on the fade route. I mean, anyway you look at it, Daniel Davey, he was a long day. He was holding all night long, got away with it. Got caught for one pass interference, but he was burned.
Oh, there is blood on the center, Joseph Selfo. And so we have a new center coming in. It's Harrison Loudon.
As you mentioned, his dad, who's a coach, used to be at Tulane, is here tonight, checking his boy play.
His cell phone. Oh, Davis goes down. Football's loose. Football's loose, still loose. Nebraska says they have it. And they do. Nebraska full has it. Chris Webber rips it out of the pile. Sophomore linebacker Weber picks up the fumble that was forced by Kevin Maurice.
Yeah, this would have been the first sack all night if he just got the ball knocked out of his hands. And look at the guys go after the ball. Isn't that great? Isn't it a great game?
Oh, it's still loose.
Yeah.
My goodness. Maurice forced the fumble, give him a sack. That's the first sack for either side. So the sack and the forced fumble didn't get the triple play though. You get the sack, forced fumble, and the recovery. That's the gold standard.
And it's a touchdown. Does that make it?
Yeah. So first down and goal.
It's an I-back.
Oh, it's the old I-back. Mikhail Wilbon is the I-back behind the fullback. New quarterback right for Fife. Gives it to Wilbon. And Wilbon is tackled. Maybe he got the line of scrimmage. E.J. May blowing up that play.
Now that is old school. Yeah. That's it right there. The old eye back, fullback leading. Turn around, hand the ball off. Hat on hat.
Yeah, there's a lot of subs on that offensive line now. Paul Thurston comes in. David Neville, Zach Stirrup into the game on that line. They fake it. Looking for the fullback Janovich. Instead, they get it to Moore, who scores. Another touchdown. Give the touchdown throw. Riker Fife. And the touchdown catch to Alonzo Moore. Second consecutive week that Alonzo Moore has scored a touchdown. Now there's a small section of fans here at Memorial Stadium with Nebraska taking over at the 2-yard line. And Terrell Newby with 198 yards. Some here in the stadium probably saying, why not give it to Newby? Get him 2 yards, get him another touchdown, and get 200 yards. That extra point is wiped away. There's a flag down on the field.
The offensive team had 2 number 55s. Illegal equipment, 5-yard penalty. We will retry the play.
So when you get deep into a game, Coach, do you swap out your special teams as well?
Well, that's where you have the problem, with the duplication of numbers, and you take a lineman out, you put another guy in, maybe a defensive guy comes in, you have 136 guys on Nebraska's team, and you're trying to get as many guys that you're not redshirting to play. That's a minor problem.
Well, considering South Alabama had a number 55 on the field as well, and Demarion Harper, there were technically 165 numbers of 155. My goodness, back in a moment. 8:30 remaining. Nebraska all smiles on top of South Alabama, 48-3. You're taking a look at our Duluth Trading hardest working player, Terrell Newby. 198 yards rushing, 38 yards receiving, and 3 scores. Coach,
he was the workhorse today, and like you mentioned before, they'll probably, you can't please everybody. There'll be someone calling on Mike Riley's call-in show saying, why don't you lead him 2 more yards, get him 200 yards, but young man, only 10 carries last week. He'll have to take a shower after this game, I promise you.
Kickoff, we will see Spencer Lindsey get an opportunity. Relief of Drew Brown. Claude Garrett brings it out of the end zone. And Garrett gets out across the 25-yard line. So both teams have gone to backup quarterbacks. I anticipate this to be the second series for Dallas Davis. Riker Fife's series is really short. A couple plays from the 2-yard line.
You don't think he'll get another chance?
Well, they need to get the ball back. You never know. This could be an 8-minute and 24-second drive.
I'll bet you dinner. How's that?
Do I have to give you anything if it's not an 8:24 drive? If I don't, I'll take that bet. And some hitting still going on. Dami Aola.
This team, South Alabama, is going to be okay in the Sun Belt. They've got some players that like the schemes. They're well coached. They're outmanned against the Cornhuskers tonight. Tough place to play, Memorial Stadium. They'll regroup. They'll be okay.
I totally agree. They've moved the ball effectively against Nebraska. They just made a couple of mistakes and weren't able to get scores when they got deep into the red zone. Coming up, the final drive brings you all the scores, stories, and highlights from around the Big Ten. We'll join Dave, Jerry, and Howard back in Chicago for the final drive presented by FanDuel. It's right after our game on BTN. both these schools going to get some sunshine next week. Nebraska heading down to Miami to take on the Hurricanes, while South Alabama, they're going to go out to San Diego, take on the Aztecs of San Diego State.
Yeah, take your game on the road.
It's a story that bears repeating. South Alabama, just their 7th year of football. 2009 was their first year. 5 years they've been in the football bowl subdivision. This is their 3rd year that they're bowl eligible, and last year Joey Jones taking South Alabama to the Camellia Bowl. That was played in Montgomery, Alabama. They lost against Bowling Green. Interesting, Jordan Westerkamp still out fielding punts.
They lost to Bowling Green, who had a big win today against Maryland.
Big win.
Dino Babers, the coach there, doing a good job. And South Alabama playing the Cornhuskers, the 4th winningest football program of all time. He said they haven't been down to Florida in
1951 during the regular season.
Yeah, the regular season, but they've been to how many Orange Bowls?
17.
17. And they've been to bowl games 44 out of the last 46 years. That's consistency, my friend.
What was the biggest thing that you worried about when you coached at Kansas? You were there for 9 years in the Big 8, taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. When you came here to Lincoln, what generally seemed to do you in? Obviously, the strength in numbers with Nebraska, but anything else that you noticed when you came here and played at Memorial Stadium?
It was a nightmare. I brought a couple of good teams in here, and I want to say in '92 I came in here and
offense number 30, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
And we
Harrison Jordan, that penalty.
Yeah, right there.
The fullback who backs up Andy Janovich.
They can move him to linebacker if they're a little short. He knows how to tackle. But anyway, we played at that on that 6:30 night game that was big in the Big 8 back then, and we got killed. The only thing is that Colorado had a really good team, was on their way to the national championship. We did a little better than they did. They played the week before. But it was so loud in here. Number one thing I remember, when you came into this stadium and you were a threat, these fans were no longer spectators, they were participants.
E.J. May, he has not stopped. He picks off that pass from Riker Fife. That's a turnover, and South Alabama has it back, so there'll be better days for Fife, trying to figure things out as the true backup to Tommy Armstrong here in Lincoln.
Yeah. Good protection, and I don't like how he threw the ball. You see how he kind of threw it 1 foot? I mean, he didn't trust that his mechanics there, and he's afraid of the defender falling into his legs, and you just can't throw the ball like that on the money.
Now Mike Riley's going to pick up his first win as the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's going to be career win number 94 for Riley.
Still living in a hotel.
Really?
Yeah. I found that out from Aunt Peggy.
Dallas Davis going for the whole ball of wax, throws it out of bounds, looking for Claude Garrett.
Aunt Peggy gave me all kinds of information on Mike Riley. All kinds.
You were telling me about the wind being a factor everywhere you went in the Big 8. The importance of having a good punter.
I'll tell you,
in the old Big 8.
Old Big 8. You played in Nebraska or Kansas or Oklahoma.
Nice catch on the bobble, Josh McGee. How good was Darren Erstad as a punter?
Pass complete to number 1, Josh McGee.
Darren Erstad was a punter on that Nebraska team back in the mid-90s. Of course, went on to great as a baseball player.
Who wasn't good on those teams? I mean, they had no weaknesses. I'm not, you know what? I'm not sure I can answer that because I'm not sure he ever had to punt against them.
Well, as good punter as he was, I can guarantee he was a better baseball player, and I can guarantee he was a better guy. Head baseball coach here in Nebraska, who has done a fantastic job. Has some great facilities to work with. Has done a fantastic job. The interest in Husker baseball. Xavier Johnson with that carry. 5 minutes to play.
We were talking to some friends of mine who were up here on a recruiting trip with their son for baseball at the hotel. Highly recruited, had a lot of other options, but as far as they're concerned, Nebraska's the place for them.
Alex Gordon, Kansas City Royals, they're going to make the postseason this year. Alex Gordon has done a lot of donating to his alma mater, the baseball field, a lot of his touches over there. Coming off the bench and making a tackle at the quarterback. Second sack. That's Mick Stoltenberg. So Stoltenberg and Kevin Maurice with the 2 sacks so far. Playing without Jack Ganguish. Need help from all corners, and so far so good. Stoltenberg bringing down Davis. It'll set up 3rd down and 15.
You know, when you get to put your down the line guys in that don't get a chance to play very much, I mean, they go hard. They never want to get another opportunity to play, and sometimes it's worse for the opposition than leaving the starters in.
Davis throws to the end zone looking for McGee, and McGee not able to stay in bounds. He caught that and insisted he was inbounds, but the call on the field is out of bounds. McGee working against Chris Jones.
Yeah, he's pretty convincing what he's...
That is really close. The ruling on the field was out of bounds.
And he's dragging his toe.
The play is under further review.
Any way you look at it, it's a great reception.
Wow, look at the tips of the toes of the right foot.
I think it's a touchdown.
The receiver's left foot was in bounds when he made the catch in the end zone, resulting in a touchdown.
Wow, how about that? Congratulations, Josh McGee in South Alabama. They score a touchdown here at Memorial Stadium for the first time. And it was a thing of beauty. Dallas Davis finds Josh McGee. McGee's put pressure on Nebraska all evening long.
Well, I'm going to go back to your previous question, Eric, as far as if I'm the Nebraska defense, what concerns me? The deep fade route. I mean, they've been beat a number of times tonight, and if you don't think that Miami's not going to see that and not going to try it, and other people they play, you're wrong.
6 catches, 147 yards for McGee. Bobbled snap. Potential disaster for South Alabama, and up to the task defensively, Nebraska. So a failed extra point attempt. Back to Lincoln in a moment. A lot of positives from Mike Riley and his Nebraska Cornhuskers, but with 3:36 remaining, still some coaching moments. South Alabama, they had not given up. Josh McGee, 6 catches, 147 yards. Coach, he has catches of 55, 33, and 36 yards today. All 3 of those plays are longer than any play that Nebraska's had in the first 2 games.
Well, you'd have to say that's the history of South Alabama. You think about Gardner-White game last week. That was all. They had 4 plays over 50 yards. So they're a big play offense.
South Alabama coming out of the Sun Belt. Got a good chance to be pretty good this year in the Sun Belt. Shortened history at South Alabama. They've just been playing football since 2009. But McGee's 147 receiving yards, the second most in school history. He played professional baseball actually last week with Brigham Young, and a lot of kids who come back from missions are older than normal college age. Same thing with Josh McGee. He's a junior, but he's already 23 years of age. He was drafted by the Houston Astros in the 18th round in 2010. His dad, Wendell McGee, played in the big leagues with the Philadelphia Phillies. He played in the Astros chain for a while, then said, you know what, I've had enough. He started to play football at Alabama. Depth chart's pretty significant there, and said, you know what, let's try someplace else. He went to UAB, had a solid season a year ago, and then was one of the many transfers from UAB to South Florida in the offseason when UAB dropped football momentarily.
Man, he's transferring a lot of credits. Alabama, UAB, South Alabama.
Well, he stays within the Alabama school system. He's got Auburn next, maybe Troy next year.
Well, he's only a junior.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Auburn, Troy,
yeah.
One of those. Do the whole gambit. Mikhail Wilbon is in as the I-back. Harrison Jordan, a thumper of a fullback in front of him. Tariq Allen, his first catch. I do wonder, this is something that we're going to keep an eye on all season long. Is it the scheme, or is it a lack of playmakers? Because at some point, Nebraska's going to need to figure out a way to score without a 10-play drive.
Well, what you see, and I talked about it before, they're not swinging for the fence. They're not looking for the home run by the play design. Everything they're doing, they're trying to hit singles and doubles. Now, it has to be a long run, which excellent blocking and downfield blocking, or it has to be a missed tackle by a defender on a pass. They haven't attempted the home run.
Riker Fife trying to get tuned up here. He threw an interception a moment ago. His pass complete to Luke McNitt. McNitt getting an opportunity with so many issues to the tight end. Ethan Carter still suspended. David Sutton out with an ankle injury.
So to your point, I would have to say it's more of what they're doing than how they're doing it. I think they've got big play guys on but they have to put them in position to make those plays.
Wilbon, redshirt freshman from Chicago. And the clock will stop momentarily until they move the chains. Then the clock will continue again. 20-yard rush for Wilbon. Big story. Trying to get the running game going. Huskers just over 100 yards a week ago against Brigham Young. They have 239 on the ground. The lion's share by the I-back newbie. And the defense, particularly the line against South Alabama running game, has been stout. Add it all together, and 550 yards of total offense for Nebraska. That number will go up. Another catch for Allen.
I would have to say the emphasis that Mike Riley told us they were going to put on the running game, if they didn't have the success that they had tonight against South Alabama, with the one exception, if South Alabama really would have cheated and consistently put too many people in the box, which they didn't do, if they didn't have that success, I'd say they've got problems on offense.
Now, there's going to be a lot of announced teams that come here to Lincoln that are going to be very happy with the coaching staff. Mike Riley, very transparent. He told us exactly what he expected to see. We're going to run the football. These guys may play, they may not play. This is what we want to do, what we want to get accomplished. And for the most part, everything that he told us, his team has been able to accomplish.
Well, I would agree with you. What a gentleman, what a class guy. And to help us do our job, to be able to broadcast the game to the people out there, very open, as you said, transparent. Say, hey, why don't you come to practice? You know, a lot of places.
That's a rare invitation sometimes.
Come over and talk to us. Pointed some things out. Said some things. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you guys this, but I don't want it announced until the game, and which you can understand. It was great. I look forward to our next trip to Lincoln with great anticipation.
Stanley Morgan Jr. still in the game. He played significant minutes. True freshman out of New Orleans. Caught a couple of passes. Still in the game with under a minute to play.
And in the spirit of full disclosure, I want you to know that I enjoyed broadcasting this game a lot more than I ever did coaching down on that field in this stadium.
I was stunned when you said this is the first time you've been here since the 90s when you coached against Nebraska with the Jayhawks.
Yeah.
Pass is complete to Lane Hovey.
And when Tom Osborne was here, what he did, and when you talked about 258 yards rushing as being a good, that would have been a bad night. We would have been having a parade if we would have held them under 300 yards rushing.
Well, a lot to smile about. No Hail Marys tonight. Nebraska's going to win for the first time under Mike Riley. They roll up 561 yards of total offense, and they take down a very game South Alabama team. 48-9 is the final score. So smiles all around. Bear Bryant looking down and enjoying that handshake. A couple of former Alabama Crimson Tide players under the legendary Paul Bear Bryant shaking hands. There'll be better days for South Alabama. That's a program on the rise. They will have success this year in the Sun Belt. Let's head down and talk to the happy head coach standing by with Rick Pizzo.
Eric, thank you, Mike. First and foremost, congratulations on your first win here at Nebraska, powered by that run game. Talk about your offensive line and Terrell Newby.
Well, I think that's what we knew after last week's game. We had to do better. You know, we didn't feel good about our running game against BYU, and it made everything harder. It was nice to see us run the ball better tonight. Offensive line, and of course the runner did a nice job.
I know you'll enjoy this for a short bit, but as you get ready for Miami, how do you shore up what was going on with your defense, notably the secondary?
Well, you know, I think that we just got to go back to work and get ready. You know, we'll have to keep working on everything that we do, and then you got to apply it to the next team that you're going to play. So that's what we'll be about starting tomorrow.
Finally, Mike, does the enjoyment of this first victory live up to what your preseason expectations would be?
Absolutely. This is awesome, and I was really proud of the team. I've enjoyed this team, getting started with this team and this program. Very proud of that and excited to get this win.
Congrats, Coach.
Thank you.
Mike Riley, first win as the head Husker, guys.
Rick, thank you so much. Fantastic job down there all game long. Big win for Nebraska. They're now 1-1. We'll be back here to wrap things up in a moment. Stick around. Nebraska wins it 48-9.